Good morning, everyone, and welcome to HUD, and welcome to our HUD-approved Intermediary, State Housing, Finance Agency, and Multi-State Organization Conference, Built to Last, Built for Change. I'm Robin Penick. I'm with the Office of Housing Counseling in the Office of Outreach and Capacity Building. And I do want to thank you so much for your partnership with HUD and your participation in the Housing Counseling Program. And before we get to the introductions today, I would like to provide some site logistics for the meeting today. First off, there are 2 staff members on site for our technical assistance provider, Shauna LaRue-Marai and Rachel Lorillard. Rachel is at the registration table, and Shauna is right here. And if you have any questions or issues about logistics or anything here today, please feel free to contact them. And then other logistics, restrooms are to the left as you exit the auditorium. And this morning, you were escorted into this room from the security office. And anytime you leave the building today, you will need to go back through that entrance and be escorted back to the auditorium. And new this year, thank you, Charlene Young, HUD staff. We do have a snack station located right outside the auditorium that provides beverages and snacks, so please, you do not have to leave the building. And for lunch, we do have 1 hour for lunch, and if lunch can be found at LaFont Plaza or the snack station outside. The general sessions are being recorded today, so I just want to make sure you're aware that if you ask questions, it will be recorded. And finally, please turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate. And we know that you are very busy, and we certainly appreciate this opportunity to collaborate with you today. So now I'd like to introduce Jane Sharita, who is also with the Office of Outreach and Capacity Building.
Thank you, Robin, and good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here for this meeting and glad you all could join us. I'd like to play a little show and tell with you this morning to kind of get you into the flow of what we're going to do today. If you open up your blue folders, you'll see that you have an attendee list so that you can contact folks after the meeting. There's also a nice little brochure about HUD Exchange, and we hope that you all are already familiar with that, but it does outline the different components of our website presence. We also have a survey that we would like you to complete, and this year is going to be electronic, so we'll give you instructions on how to do that later today. On the right side of your binder, you'll find the agenda and all of the slide decks for today's presentations. So the way the day is going to start out with, we'll do a general plenary session, and then we'll go into our first peer-to-peer breakout. So you have the choice of going to a session on client management systems or on limited English proficiency. Then we'll go to lunch, and as Robin mentioned, there are several places around here, but we really hope that you're back by 12:45. We have a really tight schedule today, so want to keep on track as much as we can. Then in the afternoon, we will have a session on telling the housing counseling story. And this is a joint presentation between HUD's Office of Policy and Development and Research and Creative, CMR. Well, I'm sorry, I can't think of the acronym right now. I'm sorry, folks over there. But it'll give you a really good picture of what the housing counseling story is all about. Then we'll have a break, and after that, there's a session on billing methodologies that will be very informative for all of us. And then another break about from 3 to 3:15. Then we'll have our final breakout where you'll have a choice between learning info on handbook changes and also on network capacity. And then we'll have a brief wrap up from 4:15 to 4:30. So again, we have a very full day today and glad you could join us. It's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Jarique, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Office of Housing Counseling.
Thank you. Thanks, Jane. Good morning, everyone. It is so nice to see you. We are pleased to bring you one of the most beautiful days in Washington you'll experience. I know when we scheduled this for August, I'm sure you were thinking, oh my God. But I think on your breaks, I hope you get out and to enjoy the beauty that's in this city. I just want to say one thing to kick off. You'll hear from me later as well, but your work as intermediaries running your affiliates is so amazing and helpful for us, and I want to thank you for that. 3 years ago at our first conference, we talked about the need to tighten and make more consistent HUD's interpretation of its own rules and standards, but also the work of the intermediaries in bringing your affiliates to HUD standards. And I've been so pleased and humbled, actually, to see you take that charge very seriously. And you've brought, in many cases, your affiliates' level of quality counseling, their attention to the stewardship of the federal funds, really up to really excellent levels. And we have a lot of measures that we watch very closely around risk, around de-obligation of funds, around complaints. And on every measure we have, I'll say you're doing a great job. It's not something to take for granted. That can change at any time, but we really appreciate it, and I want to thank you for that. We all know that counselors are in the transformation business. They take clients where they are, they see the client goals with them, help them achieve them, and transform the client's housing situation to where they need to be, whether that's through work on the credit history, work on savings, negotiating with the landlord, whatever. On August 1st, the Housing Counselor Certification Test was available. We've had, I think, 75 people register for it through Tuesday. We've had, I will tell you, 10 people take it and 7 pass it. And we do not have our first certified counselor yet. I want to note that that the certification process requires someone from the organization to certify employment. And unless they register as employers, the certification can't be completed. But to me, we are transforming the counseling industry. We are changing the industry. We will have a HUD standard for counselors and certification, we hope. While it's just a test and it's not everything a counselor does, we hope that will be transformative for the industry as well. At this point, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Dana Wade. She is the General Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Office of Housing. That's a mouthful. And her job really is to oversee me and the other DASs, as we call ourselves, to make sure that we're all steering in the right direction. And I love my colleagues, and I've really enjoyed getting to know Dana. She has a strong background in HUD housing programs. And a lot of you know that's not an easy background to have or master, and she'll tell you a little bit about that. There are many changes with the new administration. I don't need to tell you that, and many opportunities. Dana and others know the housing counseling program well. They've been asking great questions, but they've also offered tremendous support. I want to call out one opportunity now because we're going to have an opportunity to talk about it in the peer sessions. Priority is deregulation, reducing the burden on people who do business with HUD. That means, where are your pain points? And we're going to have an opportunity to talk about that in the peer breakouts so that we can gather feedback from you and suggest changes to our rules, guidance, regulations that will make your work easier without compromising counseling quality or risk. that's an opportunity that doesn't come along very often. It takes a lot of patience and a long view to unwind a lot of rules that still have constituencies in many cases. Your feedback will help us a lot. So I just put that seed in, and I want to say Dana has been championing that in a very sensible, sensitive way, and we really appreciate that. So thanks for being here this morning, Dana.
And thank you so much for having me. Sarah, I think those remarks were way too kind. I started at HUD as the GDAS, which is the General Deputy Assistant Secretary, which is a mouthful, about a month and a half ago. And I can tell you, this morning I was driving into work and dropped my 3-year-old daughter off at summer camp where she's taking swimming lessons. The first thing they teach you when you're 3 and you're taking swimming lessons is to put your face in the water. And it's a little bit of a different experience for a 3-year-old. I feel like I'm just kind of putting my face in the water here. But I appreciate it. I have worked on housing counseling and housing issues for a couple years, for many years, on and off Capitol Hill, and it's a pleasure to be here. Just wanted to go through a few remarks that I was kind of thinking about last night as I knew I was coming here to speak, and then I'll let you get on with your very busy and exciting day. And thanks to Sarah and the team for putting together what looks like a really exciting and productive schedule. Thank you all for being here. I'm happy to be here. I was thinking about housing counseling, and I think it's pretty remarkable that HUD-approved housing counseling agencies had helped 1.2 million households in 2016. That was a number that you had given me kind of in preparing me to come here today, and I'm sort of blown away with that. So I wanted to thank you for everything that you do to contribute to that. Housing counseling, I believe has an important goal to educate potential home buyers on what could be the most important financial decisions of their lives. So no pressure there. But this is definitely, anyone who's been through the process of buying a home knows that it can be a very nerve-wracking decision. And it is, I think it's very important for potential borrowers to get good, sound, unbiased advice. So again, thank you for your role in helping to make that happen. And I'd like to commend you all today for playing a very important role in that process. Ultimately, I believe that consumers, and I think a lot of us do, should have the freedom to make their own financial decisions. But housing counseling can set them up for success. And what is success? So, how do we measure success? It's not the easiest thing to measure here. I think it means more savings, fewer foreclosures and mortgage defaults, better use of credit when you compare families who received HUD-approved housing counseling to those who did not. And I think that, we've already kind of begun digging into that data, and I want to continue the digging. And we like what we see so far. I think we've seen some very positive results. Before I end my remarks, I'd like to touch very briefly on one of my priorities, and I think it could be a big win for all of us. And that is that the Secretary has asked for ideas on how to streamline or eliminate unnecessary regulations, which should also reduce your cost of doing business with HUD. And I think this can be done without increasing risk or compromising on the quality of services. So I'm glad that's on the agenda today, and I look forward to hearing about what you all have discussed. I've asked Sarah and her team to share with me your ideas for ways to do just that and to reduce unnecessary administrative burdens associated with the program. So thanks again for coming. Look forward to meeting many of you in person and appreciate those of you especially who had to travel across country to be here. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, and thanks for making the time this morning to see us. I know you're supposed to be upstairs, so I appreciate you coming by today. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. We're going to go into the plenary now, so I'm going to ask the speakers for the next session to come up and join me up here. Go. Move over one. I'll let you do it, if you don't mind. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. You know what, then? Yeah, I can do that. Trying to get the right. Okay, we're all here. Before we get started, or as we get started, I want to tell you what a privilege it is to work with all of my colleagues at the Office of Housing Counseling. And as some of you may know, we have staff in 30 locations around the country. We are a virtual office within HUD, and so some of us don't get to see each other very often. So it's really great for me to see, especially Jerry, Phyllis, and some other folks out there. I like seeing Brian, but I see you more often. And the work that we do, I'm very proud of, needless to say. I am blown away by how much change we are able to get our arms around as we try to be nimble in responding to the needs that we see in the different places around the country, the different organizations that work with our program. So today, I will have to do this, won't I? No, that didn't work. Ah, look at that. Today we're going to, no, stay. Today we're going to give you some updates of what we've been up to and concocting in our laboratories back at the federal government. We'll go through each office's work, and I will fill in at the end with some external policies that we have a team around, but it sort of cuts across all the different areas, and then we'll have time for your questions and answers. So we're going to start with the Office of Policy and Grant Administration. I'm going to hand the clicker over to Brian Siebenlist.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. We're all lucky to have Sarah's leadership here in this program. So I know that we really appreciate her, and I'm sure you all do too. So I'll tell you, I was nervous when they began planning this meeting today. No, I really was, because we hadn't yet announced the grant awards. And I was thinking, oh my God, they're gonna throw stuff at me if we don't have those awards announced. But luckily we do now, and the grant packages are out, and so hopefully you have that, and we're going to execute those grants and get them going. So that's good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the office that I'm the director of, the Office of Policy and Grant Administration. I have a few of we call it OPGA, that's our acronym for our office. A few of my colleagues are here, so let me just ask them to stand up real quick, and I can just point them out real fast. I see Colleen Weiser, just stood up over there. Stephanie Williams. We have Charlene Youngs here today, and I don't know if she's in the room, but I think you met her on the way in. We have Terry Ames, who's there in the back waving. So that's a handful of our group. You know, our office is bigger than that, but we have folks all across the country, and some of them might be your POCs. They probably are. So one good thing about our office is we're growing. We've been able to hire 3 new people recently, and I'm really proud of that, and I think it just says a lot about the commitment and support for this program and the great work that you do. So that's good news for our office that we're growing. I'm going to just give you a brief summary of sort of what we're doing in our office and what we're looking forward to. And I'm going to actually start discussing some of our performance indicators. One of the roles of the Office of Policy and Grant Administration is sort of trying to improve data collection, analyze that data, use it to report against our goals. And so the first few slides highlight some of the performance indicators we have, and I think there's some stuff to discuss in each of them. So this first one is our most straightforward indicator, and it's basically, this is data derived from the 9902, and it's, you know, how many clients were served. And we set a goal. Well, we set a goal and then we report against it. This data is coming from the all counseling activity, all sources of funding column in the 9902. We've been concerned over the past several years because the number of clients served has decreased considerably, and you can see this chart goes back to 2010, but it was at 3 million as recently as that, and on a downhill trend ever since. But and that has a lot to do with monies available and NFMC and other support going away, of course. We're hopeful that is trends that are going to reverse here, and one good
No, you could
It'll keep switching back and forth. That's all right. They can see it on the other screen.
Oh, you can, okay. And one good bit of news is that we are on target this year to the client volume is up this year slightly compared to where it was at the same point last year. So we're on track for meeting our goal or exceeding our goal of 1.1 million in FY17. So that's good news. I think a little of that might have to do with improvements in 9902 reporting and specifically the number of agencies reporting. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But so anyway, this is an important theme for us because we're very concerned about the number of clients served and the decrease, of course. It helps feed some of our guiding principles as we try to make policy and design programs, which are how are we going to reduce burden so more resources can go toward helping the people that need help. How do we create sustainable programs and other funding sources to support this important work? So that's some of the stuff I wanted to highlight with this slide. The next slide is another one of our performance indicators is clients gaining access to housing resources. Whoops, I'm one ahead on the slide, sorry. So this comes straight out of Section 10. Oh, okay, I see it on this one, but I don't know on this. This comes out of Section 10 of the 9902. It's one of our performance indicators. The data is 19% as of the second quarter of this year. Our goal is 25%, so we're not meeting our goal. This is one of the few areas where I want to emphasize that I think there may be some underreporting, or I want to highlight that this is one of the performance indicators we set a goal report against. It comes from the 9902. We want to make sure people are sort of understanding this and the other goals and making sure they get credit for the work and the impact being done. And so this is one that I think we would expect numbers to be higher. So worth sort of looking at, are you selecting this as an impact when you should be on the 9902? So good. A similar one is clients with whom the counselor developed a sustainable household budget. So this is another one of our performance indicators we set goals and report against. This comes from Section 10 of the 9902. This is another one where we really worry about the reporting and if folks are really understanding what we're looking for here. It was 36% as of the second quarter in FY17. We think it should be closer to 100% or 100% really. And so I just want to, and we talked about this before, but I think it's worth emphasizing, we think we may have caused some confusion with the word sustainable. What's a sustainable budget? I mean, basically what we're trying to get to here is there's a programmatic requirement to do a budget as part of every counseling session. And, we think that, some of the counselors might be concerned that they can't report this impact if, for example, after doing the budget, they figured out the client can't afford their current spending habits. That's not really what we're trying to get to here. The purpose is really, the budgeting is supposed to be showing a path toward positive or path toward a positive, sustainable budget. And even if you don't have to go back and verify that they've sort of met the objectives, we want reporting on the 9902 if the budgeting process occurred to support the housing counseling session. So that's what we're... Yeah, we did a budget with them and to support the counseling and yeah. Yeah, Bruce, thanks. I mean, basically that's the idea. If you do a budget, count it, because 36%, we think it should be about 100. So just want to emphasize that. And if folks have questions about that, we can talk more about it later. Okay. It's important to just reemphasize on the Section 10 of the 9902, you can select multiple outcomes. I think most folks do. The more the merrier, or, of course, if they're applicable, but we're hoping that everyone's aggressive about selecting multiple outcomes on the 9902 for households served, because we're using this data to justify the program, justify the appropriation. Okay. Another indicator is the number of FHA-insured mortgages benefiting from housing counseling. Just so you know, this is one of the indicators that we set a goal and report against. This data is typically reported by FHA lenders, not the counselors. So we rely on other sources of data besides the 9902. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got ahead on the slides. That's the slide for that one. We're currently below pace on this one, but we are seeing an increase with voluntary counseling in conjunction with FHA programs. So in other words, they receive counseling even though the FHA loan program didn't require it. So that's encouraging. So that's another one of our impacts and goals that we report against. Just so you know, those are our goals currently. They may evolve and change, especially with new leadership here. So, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what our goals were and how we're doing against them. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 9902 response rate. This has been, and this might be what I was saying before, partly responsible for why client serve numbers are going up. We've taken on a pretty aggressive outreach effort to try to increase 9902 reporting, and we are really proud. We increased the rate over the past year from 86% of agencies reporting to 95%. So that's good. We need that data, crucial to justify our program and show the impact of the program. So we're trying to identify groups that aren't submitting. Jerry does, at his office, they do targeted blast emails to the agencies that aren't reporting. We try to provide them with technical assistance. So if your agencies or you are getting that kind of communication from us, it's because we're really serious about trying to get 100% reporting. And so that's what's happening, and efforts are improving our reporting, so that's good news. The 9902, just so you know, at the end of each quarter, we take a snapshot, put it on our website, so it's a resource for everybody. The 9902 is up on our website each quarter. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to. So let me talk a little bit about this past year and my office's accomplishments. I think one of the things we're proud of is to have those awards announced and out. It was a 2-year NOFA cycle again, so for the majority of grantees didn't have to do an application. We're really proud of that and think that's a really good example of reducing burden. And we made about 255 grants, $47 million. So most grantees received an increase in their awards, so that was really positive and proud accomplishment for us. So we're also working on handbook revision, we've gone through sort of 6 of the 8 chapters so far and made some significant revisions. Stephanie Williams, who I introduced earlier, is leading our handbook revision efforts. So if you catch her later, you can give her an earful about what you want to, changes you want to see in the handbook. We're working on incorporating changes into the handbook that relate to the certification rule. So that's the certification rule is going to mean that there's going to be some changes in the handbook. So we're working on seeing what appropriate changes are needed as a result of that rule. Of course, there's going to be public comment before we make a chance for you to give feedback before we make and publish a handbook. But just so you know, that's one of the things we're working on. We worked this past year with the rest of the OHC to sort of launch the counselor certification rule, the final rule, and Sarah talked a little bit about the testing, and we're certainly proud of that. Jerry's going to talk more about that in a little bit, I think, but so I'm going to leave that topic for him to fill in a little bit. So some of the stuff that, just to finish up, that we're focused on here as in this next year, Dana talked about reducing burden, and that's certainly one of our focuses right now and priorities. Is we want to revise not only the handbook like I talked about, but go into rulemaking with the intention to try to reduce burden both for counseling agencies and for us, really. So that's something we're going to be busy with. There's going to be a feedback session later this afternoon, so we encourage you to participate in that and look forward to talking to you about some of our ideas and hearing what your ideas are for to reduce burden. So that's one of our big things. This looking forward, we also want to work with the same idea of reducing burden. We're going to focus on trying to streamline the grant execution process, the quarterly reporting process, hopefully standardize and automate some of that, but the idea is to make that quicker and easier for you, quicker and easier for us. So that's going to be a priority for us too. Of course, we're working on preparing for the next NOFA cycle. We've already started on the 18 NOFA, so we have a team going on that already. So that work kind of never ends, but we look forward to your feedback on the grants program and the NOFA as well. So anyway, let me stop there. I probably went over my time. Thanks for the great work that you're doing. I look forward to talking to folks today. Look forward to getting your feedback on some of the topics we discussed, and let me hand it over to Jerry Mayer now. Thank you all.
Can I do questions?
Could you clarify when you said clients gain access to housing resources? Can you define what that means, access to housing resources, and you said that it's unreported?
Yeah, so, and we have a nice sort of toolkit that'll go into all those indicators and really say, what is HUD looking for here? In that particular one, it would be things like down payment assistance, rental assistance, but we have a nice on our website toolkit that helps go through all those indicators and say what HUD's looking for. So if you haven't
They're gaining access, and they haven't gotten access, so if they're told about that, should we recategorize that as gaining access? Or do you actually have to have access?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Brian to repeat the question, but then we're going to hold the questions for the end, but we'll have time for them. But go ahead, and then we'll go on. So Bruce is asking about if they've been told about resources but haven't actually gained them, does that get reported?
Yeah, so Bruce's point, I think, is like if at the point where they're doing the reporting, they haven't, even though they maybe discussed a down payment assistance program, as a counseling agency, you don't know if they've accessed that down payment assistance. Yeah, at that point, that would not be reported. it's more if you learn that they through follow-up that they did access that resource, then you report it. But again, that toolkit goes into a little more detail on what to count, what not to count, and covers the question Bruce asked. So hopefully that can be a resource to folks. All right, thank you.
The monitor's going to stay blank, but they can see your slides.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for traveling so far to be with us here today. Before I get started, I just wanted to call out some of our outreach and capacity folks that are here today. You've already met us, Jane Sharita and Robin Penick, but also Suzanne Isaacs, who is our timekeeper here, will be keeping us all on track today, and my comments will be brief, don't worry. So this year in outreach and capacity building, we have some accomplishments. Primarily, I'd like to talk about housing counselor certification. It's been a long trip for housing counselor certification. Really, it's about 7 years to get to where we are right now. We, as Sarah said, have just started testing on August 1st. We were prepared for 10,000 on the first day, and thank goodness that didn't happen. But you prepare for the worst, and you get less, and life is good. And the small number that did start the process really helped us work out some early bugs, and that is great. Our contractors, ICF and Bixel, who do two entirely different things, but Bixel is the primary contractor on that testing system, and they're here with us today as well. And ICF, of course, is running this entire workshop for you today. Bixel runs HUDhousingcounselors.com, and that's where you go for the test. We have done a lot of outreach in the past year, more than the past year, actually. This past year, OCB did, and also with the help of the rest of the Office of Housing Counseling as a team, we all did about 185 workshops and seminars and webinars and conference calls, all to help keep you informed about housing counseling certification, to try and do this in a transparent manner, and to get your input throughout the entire process. And now that we've started, we still want your input. We're still going to continue reaching out to you to get your feedback on how we can improve the system. Look out for enhancements based on your feedback as we go. And we want to know from your point of view when something is not working, and we want to know early so that we could fix it for your counselors. We're expecting over the next 3 years to see a ramp up in certification activity. A lot of it we think will probably be driven by not just HUD, but third-party funders and states and other entities that start to insert language into their grant programs and other programs requiring HUD-certified counselors working at HUD-approved agencies do their program activities. So be very careful to be on the lookout for that as you go, because that might drive your timeframes. Another item I'd like to talk about is our Federal Advisory Committee. We've met 3 times now. We have another meeting coming up in September. The public is always welcome to attend the Federal Advisory Committee meetings. And also look out in the Federal Register for opportunities to join the Federal Advisory Committee. We want to see your faces on that committee. We need feedback and advice from that committee to make sure our programs are running right. And you're just the folks we want to hear from. So if you see an opportunity to apply, please do. We'd love to see your application. Now, advisory and or outreach and training and technical assistance. That's really what the Office of OCB is about. That's our core workload function, although Sarah would tell you it's certification right now. We do a lot of training. We have training partners. Our TNOFA grant this past year was increased to $3.5 million. And our 4 training grantees, NeighborWorks La Raza, which is now Unidos US, and RCAC and NCRC do a wonderful job helping to keep you all trained. We try to go out and join them at their place-based trainings whenever possible, and also support their training. So any feedback we can get from you on your training needs will help inform them and as well as our training schedule. So please keep that information coming to us. Finally, I want to talk about the Bridge newsletter that we have, which tells your story more than anything. The Bridge was originally entitled that to sort of bridge the gap between government and the housing counseling industry. But we have sort of evolved into a newsletter for you. We want to highlight your best practices. We want to tell your story. We want to give you information that you need to do your business. And it's been, let's see, I think we're closing in on our 65th issue in our 5th year of publication. And we have almost 20,000 subscribers now in the housing counseling industry. So if you have a good story to tell, we've got a great audience to tell it to. So if you do want to get something into the Bridge, please send me an email. And I know you all have my email from the listserv, which also reaches almost about 20,000 folks. And we try to be very informative and publish frequently. I'd like your feedback on the listserv. If you'd like something changed, if you have something to send on the listserv, if you have some criticism, which I very much want to hear, seriously, please send that to me, because we want to improve that service as well. Okay, so work in progress. Well, we want to continue to ensure that the certification of housing counselors moves forward smoothly. And again, your feedback to ensure that that goes well is really critically important to us. If you see something that's not right, call it out soon, call it out early, and we'll get it fixed. Our contractor, again, Fiscal, is wonderful about making changes, and if something is wrong, tell us and we will change it. We also want to promote the benefits of housing counseling. We're going to do that through our messaging. As we go forward, we're going to be telling the public to ask for a HUD-certified counselor working at a HUD-approved agency as their best means of obtaining housing counseling. And that's where you're going to start to see the benefits of certification start to really take hold in messaging like that and around that, to elevate the certified counselor as a real estate professional that is on par with any other real estate professional in the transaction. Everyone has a license, the broker, the appraiser, the title guy, everyone's got a license. And now housing counselors will too. And also another thing that we want to return to now that we have an opportunity, since certification is just starting to get up and running, is to return to engaging our stakeholders in stakeholder meetings. We're going to be coming out to a lot of the NTIs to meet with you and gather information about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what program changes you'd like to see. So engagement in the future is going to ramp up as well. And with that, I think that's all I have for you now. Oh, wait a minute, I have a problem. Shauna has just handed me this in your folder. And what this is, it shows you the HUD Exchange. And the HUD Exchange is our website. It's a couple of years old now. We moved off of HUD.gov and we moved on to the HUD Exchange, which provides us with a whole new generational improvement in support and the ability to communicate with you. And you'll see you've got all kinds of things on here: toolkits, research, online training. Our frequently asked questions are growing. Every time you send a question to housing.counseling@hud.gov, if it's good for the whole community to see, we post it there as well so everyone can see the answer. That's where you also get your Bridge newsletter. The toolkits are especially important. We had a lot of success putting toolkits up on the web, things on how to file your 9902 report, and a lot of you have given us great responses on those. We would really love to give you more toolkits. And if there's a topic that we have failed to cover, let me know, and we will get one out for you. We have a list of ones that we're producing now. We'd love to add your topic to that list. So make a note of this in your folder, refer to it, and it's websites that I use every day, and I'm sure you will too. All right, and with that, I'd like to introduce Phyllis Ford from our Office of Oversight and Accountability.
Thank you, Jerry. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Great to see all of your faces. It's my pleasure to bring you greetings from Cheryl Appline, who is our director, gallivanting around Paris today, so she couldn't make it. And of course, from Keisha, our deputy director, who had responsibilities back at the shop that wouldn't let her be here with us like she was last year. But you have me, so you're pretty lucky, okay? How am I doing this? Okay. First, we want to talk about some of the accomplishments from the Office of Oversight and Accountability during this past year. And of course, I'm always talking about performance reviews, whether I'm talking in public or I'm talking to you personally. So performance reviews is our primary work. And last year, we reported that we had undertaken a major effort to streamline and automate the performance review process. The goal was to reduce the time and increase efficiency. That effort is still underway, but we've made significant progress. We have agreement and approval on revised processes. We will focus on reducing risk and burden associated with the performance review. So you will be very delighted when you see the final product. It's been a lot of work, but I'm sure you will find it worthwhile. Training and technical assistance. This is one of the most important things that we do. Now, that's in addition to what is being done and in collaboration with what is being done in Jerry's shop. We recognize that if we're going to look for improved program compliance, that we are obligated to provide technical assistance to support both you, our agencies, and our POCs, the folks that work with you. In this past year, in 2017, we redesigned the scope of work for our third-party financial auditing contractor. That's the Booth contract. And the redesign was to put a greater emphasis on technical assistance. We increased the number of opportunities for direct one-on-one technical assistance that our agency often asks for. We've improved the capacity to respond to training requests. Now, of course, we're still looking at compliance. And however, we're using the contract to provide guidance and support on some very critical areas like the PARs, uniform guidance and billing methodologies, the indirect cost, grant execution, and other things that you may think that you need. And I cannot push this enough. It's almost like a commercial for me. If you're sitting at your desk struggling with some financial aspect of compliance, please reach out to us and we will try to find you the assistance that you need. As Jerry has already said, there are a number of toolkits for oversight agencies and their networks available on Exchange. And of course, you saw the flyer, so you can use that as a resource when you get back to your offices. POC team enhancement. We are also using our POCs and our subject matter experts to respond to technical requests that are more program related than financial related. So recently we've had a number of POCs participate in informal and formal trainings at the request of the agencies. One of the things that we have improved internally, which really impacts you, is ELOC's access. POCs now, your POC, the person who is your contact, now has direct access to monitor drawdowns and to provide technical assistance with that process. I know sometimes that can be a little hairy. So now you can talk to your POC, and that POC can talk to another expert, and we'll get you what you need in terms of support to draw down your money. I think I heard Sarah say something about complaints. Of course, she never talks about complaints, but that is one of our main focuses in terms of responding to and resolution of complaints. Now, we've been doing the complaint following since the very beginning, and each year the number of complaints are less and less. as of this speaking, we've only had 19 for this year, and 17 of those have been resolved. Now, when I say they were resolved, I don't want you to think that there were 19 real issues out there. We may get a complaint because someone has an expectation higher than what is realistic. But whenever that complaint comes across our desk, we reach out to you and your network, and we follow up, we investigate, and then we let you know what's going on, and we get back to the client who may have raised the issue. OHC also provides an avenue for agencies to report problems that they may encounter with program process or procedures, or you also have an opportunity to let us know if we're doing good. So we have a complaint and compliment process. And that, too, has been going on for quite some time. Sometimes the issues are just misunderstanding or issues as it relates to interpretations. Things come to us where a POC believes that something should be a finding, and you may think that it should be a finding, or maybe there's an interpretation, and rules are easily, and interpretation issues can easily pop up. So as of this speaking for this year, we've only had 2 complaints. I'm waiting for the compliments, ladies and gentlemen. There are a couple of people in this room who have really worked with me and others in terms of resolving complaints. So I need you to know that if there is an issue, you have a safe place to come, and we will work to resolve it. There's no problem of, maybe I shouldn't say this because they'll be angry with me. I'm the contact person, and you can tell I could never be angry. So just reach out if there's some issues that you may have. Another area where we've made significant progress is in recaptures. Now, in your grant agreement, there is language that says that if you are not spending your money in a timely fashion, HUD has the ability to come back and recapture that money. We don't like to do that. It's not a goal. It's not something that is helpful for the program, especially during congressional appropriations. It actually penalizes performing agencies, and it adds a heck of a lot of burden in terms of administrative steps for both the agencies and for HUD. So we are committed to try to reduce recaptures as much as we can. Now, I just said to you that your POC has access to ELOCs, which means that they can monitor the funds that are being drawn down. So if it looks like you're not using your money, expect a call from your POC to say, hey, what's going on? What can we do to help you spend this money? We need to have it spent. We have a strategic plan. And in our strategic plan, we have a goal of no more than 2% recaptures. I'm happy to report that for the fiscal years 14 through 16, our intermediaries have had no recaptures. Yay! Our state housing finance agencies have had less than 2% with 1.14. Yay for you. Now, we're going to have to work a little bit harder with our locals, but we are doing that. And so I know all of our locals will be running back when they hear that I reported that they are still struggling to get all of their funds spent. Let me see if I can do this right. Oh, you did it? Thank you. What work in progress? Well, risk analysis and the reduction of burden is something that's going on. You've heard that repeated from all offices. OOA has been and will continue to work to reduce risk by training and supporting agencies and staff. We will continue to explore process changes. As Jerry said, if you have ideas, please share them. The best ideas actually come from the people in this room. Performance review rollout. I cannot wait until we're able to roll out this performance review. In addition to the changes in the automation, of course, we'll have training, so that'll give me opportunity to hang out with you even more. But we're hoping that that'll happen, expect that it will happen in 2018. We will continue to support oversight agencies' goals and requirements with increased guidance to expand user-friendly technical assistance and training availability for oversight agencies, their sub-agencies, the POCs, and more one-on-one support for training of agencies. I mean, that is really, really important, and we are dedicated to making sure that every training opportunity is provided and that we respond to every request. We're looking at, for our financial audit contract, we're looking at targeted training for specific needs and requests of the agencies. And we get a lot of those, and it's very helpful. And you would be, I'm actually surprised at some of the situations that can be handled easily once we're made aware of them. Now, we have the financial audit contract, and they may go out to do a financial audit and may come back and say, well, we think that this is what you should be receiving training in. So recommended training for our agencies is really optional. It's recommended, but it's optional. We want to work on improving the scheduling of our audits. That's something that's in progress. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're working to improve that. We're trying to provide, and even today we will be having some training on more and more one-on-one support on regulation and grant requirements. I mean, there's some changes that are kind of mind-boggling, and we're trying to do our best to help you work your way through that. And we want to have scheduled meetings with our Intermediary coalition for improved communication. Again, some of the best ideas and information comes from this room. And I don't think you should, I don't know too many folks who are bashful, but never be bashful about letting us know something you think that we should change. I think that's it for me. I tried to take all of your time, but they won't let me, so thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. I'm very lucky to have such a great team to work with. I love coming to work every day. And we do have a lot underway. I'm going to talk to you now about some of the external policies that we're working on. We do have a team led by Arlene Nunes and Terry Ames, who are here. And we've been working with a lot of you to try to advance stakeholder awareness and use of HUD housing counseling resources in the program. I do want to say that there are a number of different ideas, partnerships that help us advance. The coalition of HUD intermediaries that Phyllis referred to. I didn't see Matt Rebe here. Is he here from the NFCC? He is here. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for your leadership of the coalition this year. They raise with us issues on how we can do a better job. So, for example, we know that sometimes there's an inconsistency with our toolkit and the language of the handbook. And you raise that to us, and we will try to clarify it. So those kinds of things are important. Complaints are not just about complaints about the service delivery of your agency or your affiliates. Complaints can also be that the HUD staff has not acted appropriately or in the best interests, and we welcome those complaints to Phyllis as well. I'm very proud to say that I don't think we've had any this year, or one, and we take those very seriously, but it's not punitive unless it's egregious behavior. We really look at it as an opportunity to train, and we try to be very, very sensitive to protect the source of the complaint as well as get the work back on track. But sometimes it tells us that there's somebody that needs training or technical assistance, him or herself. Going back to external policies, though, a lot of these come from the coalition, come from trade associations, come from you as individuals, and come from our Federal Advisory Committee. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Terry Redmond in the back, who is one of the representatives to the Federal Advisory Committee here today. I don't see others. Am I missing anyone else? Oh, Buzz. Thank you very much. Buzz Zeman is also on the Federal Advisory Committee. Been very helpful voices for keeping us moving forward. So what have we done this past year in the area of accomplishments? And you may have more to add to the list. I think the first and frankly, I think the most important is the independent research. Continues to come in validating that counseling matters. Dana referred to it earlier. HUD has invested millions of dollars in pre-purchase demonstration that randomizes, it's a randomized control trial. Many of you and your affiliates have been involved in that research, and we have 2 publications on it that you should use because they make a very compelling case, and they also inform your work about what we need to do there's a lot of good information in there. We'll talk about the research a little more later today. A second step forward is with the GSEs. Fannie Mae unveiled its Home Ready program, which actually offers an incentive for HUD-counseled borrowers. Freddie Mac reformed a little bit of its guidance to say that counseling does not include the lender as part of the counseling, although mortgage insurance companies can still counsel for Freddie. I have to add here another accomplishment from the GSEs that happened yesterday, and with Freddie Mac. There's been a long effort to have the Mortgage Industry Standards Maintenance Organization, MISMO, recognize counseling fields because MISMO is used by the lender systems to upload data from applications and loan processing. So yesterday, Freddie Mac agreed to transmit specifications for the 9902 to the MISMA organization for adoption. So that really seems arcane and geeky and in the weeds. What it means as a practical matter is that when this is adopted, lender systems will recognize and track counseling. The lender has to choose to do that, but it's a big deal if your goal is to integrate counseling more routinely in the process. Certification, we think, is a big deal. We've talked about that a lot today. We think it'll create one standard. We think counseling going on by folks who aren't in the HUD counseling program now will have to become HUD-approved counseling. We expect that to be an area of great opportunity for you all in partnering with public housing authorities whose family self-sufficiency programs will have to meet HUD standards and use HUD counseling. It's a great opportunity to partner with state and local governments who are using CDBG and home funds for counseling programs but aren't yet using HUD counseling agencies. So we will be putting out more information about that, but I can already tell you I spoke to a group of 30 public housing agencies in Indianapolis last month, and they understand that their family self-sufficiency programs will have to use HUD counseling. They don't now, and they are looking for partnership opportunities. And I will say as a footnote, they may have money to pay for those partnerships. So that's an opportunity to expand the value, and you might start looking for folks in your areas or with your affiliates who are doing counseling now and will be affected by certification. Finally, on this list, we worked very hard, and I'll shout out David Berenbaum, Jean Spencer, Lot Diaz, and others to clarify how RESPA applies to the payment of counseling fees. And there is a legal memo on Housing Preservation Foundation's website that provides a summary of discussions with CFPB around this. Again, this is a big deal, although very complicated. In the past, some lenders were walking away from counseling fees for organizations, and I think with the publication of this clarification, there were a lot better guideposts on what would be a red flag for the CFPB, and frankly, we and the CFPB felt that most counseling activity, if covered by proper agreements, would not be RESPA violating. So there are a lot of expertise developed because of those conversations and experts in the room if you have questions about that. So with that, move on to what we're working on, and this is just a few of the things. We are looking on ways to help you get revenues for counseling. And so we have an effort with a contractor, Falcone, to help lift up models of public-private partnerships for revenues, and they've talked to many of you already. We'll be publishing some information about that in the fall. We're looking for materials and developing materials to educate borrowers on their options if they're facing loss mitigation or delinquency. When Make Home Affordable went away in December, a lot of the materials are no longer relevant. We've been working with the MBA, again, many of you in the room, and lenders, Quicken and Chase, to create a standard set of documents that just tell the borrowers what they can expect going forward. And that's been a very exciting partnership. I know industry, as an aside, has also created its own partnerships with National Association of Realtors and MBA, and these are really bearing a lot of fruit. We're working on clarifying FHA guidance relating to housing counseling. For example, your ability to charge for counseling at the closing of an FHA loan. And we are also working on certificates, and certificates is kind of a bad word because it gets confusing with certification, but proof that counseling was completed by a HUD certified counselor. So the client gets a document that says, I was counseled by a HUD counselor, in the same way they do for reverse mortgage. So that document we call the Form 9911. We get excited about forms and numbers here at HUD. And you should see a version of that coming out in the next few months. I have We'll open it up for question and answers now. Please ask us anything, and we look forward to hearing from you. What should we be working on? What have we said that's confusing to you? The areas that you feel you'd just like to know more about, please come to the microphone, because we will be making this available for webcast later, and ask us your questions. If I know you're not shy, and I'll pick on you. Maybe I'll pick on Bruce. Bruce, but I need you to come to the mic.
Is the certification going to override the? Is the certification going to override the National Housing Industry Standards? But that certification.
That's a great question, and thank you for raising that. There are a number of industry certifications out there now. The National Industry Standards are one that relate to a lot of different types of counseling. Each state, many states, I should say, have their own certifications. So the state of Massachusetts, for example, tests housing counselors today and has certain requirements on counseling in order to access state products. We need to work with the various certifying entities to, I will say, rationalize and coordinate our standards. We do not want counselors to be tested twice on the same thing, and to the extent we can coordinate, I think it will be better across the board. We haven't been able to start that because until the test was public, it wasn't easy to talk about what our standard actually meant. But now we will like to go out and do that. To answer your question directly, our belief is that our standards should not eliminate other standards. We are supportive of other standards if they have a purpose and a rationale. So in our view today, the Housing HUD standard is a basic standard. It is a 101 bachelor's degree standard. You're tested once on a broad range of basic topics, and that should be the baseline. National industry standards look at, for example, specialties in financial capability, in loss mitigation, and those to me are master's degrees that those standards are in addition to. Funders look for different standards, products look for different standards, and what we want to do, though, we think that we're going to need a couple years to really make sure the standards are working together so that it doesn't inadvertently just make it a terrific confusion and unnecessary difficulty for counselors. So I think we want to get to the point where it's very clear which standard accomplishes which goal, and that we don't, I guess we do view our standard as taking the place if other standards are testing and expecting the same things. So we'd like our standard to be recognized for what it is. Jean, come on up. It's to trick you.
All right. This is kind of a follow-up on Bruce's question, but so will you be doing an evaluation process in the future of how effective the new certification standards are? So, for example, seeing how those people who are certified, perform their duties and whether it's elevated the actual practice.
It's a great idea, and actually we don't have plans to do that, but I think it's a good idea to put out to, write it down for HUD, but also to other researchers out there to check that, because we do have a break, although we have a 3-year period before everyone has to be certified, so there's some time to look at that. One of the discussions we're going to start to have, not today, but to think about, is what does quality counseling mean? And what does it mean to do that? And we've got a lot of impacts we're looking at in the HUD research now to see whether counseling makes a difference in the pre-purchase area. But there are a lot of areas that haven't had a lot of research: rental counseling, mobility counseling, which isn't a field we recognize in the HUD counseling program, but certainly folks are starting to do that. So I think there's a lot of room for additional research and envisioning what the field of counseling will look like and what does it mean to deliver quality services. As we look at our handbook and our guidance, we should also look hard at which of those standards lead to quality counseling. For example, we have a lot of rules about conflicts of interest that can be a pain in the neck. If you're trying to explain to a board member why they're a person of trust that has a problem under the HUD rules. Those questions are relevant right now because we are looking at whether there's unnecessary burden. But on the other hand, if you see a couple of the complaints we do get from the Inspector General or GAO, and we have had a few every year, where somebody is holding themselves out as a HUD counselor, where somebody has stolen money from clients, then you're very grateful for those elements of the HUD standards. So I think that issue of what quality means, how much a difference the certification process will make by itself, what do the other standards contribute, is a very important conversation to have.
Since you brought it up, HUD standards, counseling standards. So can you talk a little bit, Sarah, about what that standard would be and whether the standard will become that if you are to do a comprehensive counseling, that requires full doc counseling, meaning bank statements, income verification, credit card statements, credit report pulling, all that. And is that going to become the standard of when you do a budget? Because right now the standard is if you do a budget, it's not a verified budget. It's a stated budget, which provides very little benefit for the client. So to do that. And the second question is, Brian, it's August. When are you going to come out with the NOFA?
I'll let you do that one first, and then I'll take the standard.
Are we going to get it out on time one of these years?
Yeah, good question, Bruce. Well, we are working on it, learning from this past experience. We've been the first HUD grant program to publish a NOFA the last several years and to announce awards. So I know it feels late on your end, but it's a challenging, time-consuming process. We think we're doing pretty good, although we certainly want to do better for sure. And
that date is when?
He's not allowed to say that. It's against the law.
By when?
Go ahead.
Well, but the fiscal year starts, in a couple of months.
Yeah, we're doing everything we can to get that NOFA out as fast as we can.
It's going to be out before the beginning of the fiscal year.
Bruce, I'm going to cut off your mic. Don't harass him.
It's okay. I'm plenty loud enough.
Just to note, regardless of when we publish the NOFA, we cannot make awards until Congress has appropriated. Congress appropriated this year on May 1st for funds that go back to October. So we cannot, and getting the awards out 60 days after the appropriation was actually warp speed for the federal government. We would love to publish the NOFA even earlier, and we try to do that. There are a lot of pieces to the NOFA, such as the general provisions, that we do not control and are not available sooner either. So this feedback and others, we will take back because it's helpful to us to be able to say that we're getting these concerns. Can I go back to your first question now?
Yes.
Thank you. The issue of what the standards should be on budgeting and the counselor work, I think, is a really interesting one, and I hope it continues today in some of the peer sessions. If I could say this the way I hear it, and you correct me if I'm not getting it right, the issue is whether HUD should set its standards to be that the counselor is actually doing a third-party verification of items that the client is saying. And there are pros and cons to that. The pro is that first of all, as Bruce said, you know the limits of anyone's stated information. And many of you know that there can be quite a gap between what's stated on the budget and what's really happening. And giving the client that awareness is a real service, right? So I don't think there's any argument about that. Some of you go further and you actually are assisting with the packaging of a loan application for some of your partners, and the course of doing that requires third-party verification of income, expense, credit history, et cetera. And there are levels to that don't involve you becoming a loan underwriter or loan processor, which I don't think you're advocating for, because there would be a firewall there with the counselor. I think it's an important question to ask ourselves is what level should be expected. Clearly, many organizations do not do that for a number of reasons. One reason you'll talk about this afternoon is that you will lose a lot of clients who do not have the patience to sit through that. They're not at the verge of applying for a loan. They are not sure what their situation is. They may be overwhelmed by an immediate housing crisis that really takes their attention. And there is a whole world of people we are not serving because our barriers to entry are very, very high. There are also issues where the counselor may have expertise or want to focus on issues and has partnerships where they know that the client is going to get processed anyway, and they want to avoid that burden. So right now our standards do not call for a third-party validation level in the budgeting, but I think Bruce raises a good point, and it's something we should all think about.
But if I can just add to that, Sarah, it's not really a third-party validation, is that if you're doing a budget and you don't look at someone's bank statements and you don't look at their credit card statements, you cannot do an effective counseling session. So I understand the framing of the third-party validation, which if you're going to be an MLO and to do that for the banks, that's not what we're talking about. Talking about what is an effective, basic counseling session. And if all you're doing is the budget, you're doing virtually no service to that client. And is HUD going to set a higher standard on doing that to provide a real service for the clients?
Good. I'll leave that as an open question right now. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Hi, Julie Guggen with the Minnesota Homeownership Center. I'm very interested in your work in progress on developing models for public-private partnerships. What is the best way for us as intermediaries to contribute to and engage in that process?
Thank you, Julie. I think you're helping us now, if I'm not mistaken. I think the contractor has gotten a lot of great ideas from the work you do in Minnesota. We are looking for models that you think could be replicable. I'll give you an example that's one that I think about a lot, and it may be completely useless for anyone to take on. But the state of Maryland has a foreclosure filing fee, and it dedicates a portion of that foreclosure filing fee to counseling. I think that's a really nifty model. I think it's interesting. I think it's not off the wall. There is a big barrier to getting that model adopted. Each state or city would have to decide. There would be advocacy involved and other things. There may be big pros and cons to that model. I'm not familiar with how well it actually works. But knowing that model exists may be inspiring for the state of Pennsylvania or the Minnesota Homeownership Center or some of you others to think about ways to expand revenues. On the other extreme, charging clients for services. We today raise it, points of contact will raise it when they go out on reviews. We discuss it with agencies, we discuss it with all of you. There are groups, I have talked to groups that would rather die than charge a client a nickel for a service. They feel it's morally wrong, it's contrary to their mission, they will not do it. They will close their program, and many of them are closing their programs rather than consider charging a client for education or counseling services. We could put out in a toolkit what it means to start charging, how some agencies got over that hurdle, whether they lost business, whether they suddenly reached upper income clients instead of their core market, and just show a path for agencies to choose. Again, like other issues, HUD, we're not contemplating forcing people to charge. We do reward agencies that leverage funds in different ways, and that is one way. So those are some things that may come up in the revenue project. You will be much more familiar with ideas than we are, and if you have ideas you're interested in sharing with the contractor, you can give them to any of us here at the conference, and we'll collect them and convey them on. Got time for one or two more questions. Come on.
Good morning.
Have to get questions.
As
Yes.
a former housing counselor for nearly a decade, I really appreciate Sarah's passion and your comments supporting that work on the front lines.
Good.
And actually, the work of Brian, you sing to my heart when you talk about impacts and data-driven results. And as I represent the state of Michigan's Housing Authority, I am interested in just not necessarily as an answer today, but I want to throw it out there that if there's ways that I can work with those agencies as a HUD grant administrator for the state of Michigan, where we can track the results, because that's the work that I used to do on the front lines as an executive director and as a housing counselor. You know, seeing the credit scores change pre and post graduation of counseling services, seeing their income, seeing their savings increase as well. I would love to be part of that process as we start to look forward towards that as well.
Good. We'll take advantage of that, and I think we ask many of you, again, in the grant application process, are you tracking results? We have not yet really dug into who is tracking and how. If you have published studies of your results, though, we do share that information, so please send us if you are doing it and you have information you'd like us to distribute, and we will take you up on your offer. David, last question.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the entire team. It is really a blessing to work with all of you, and as we look back from when, Sarah, you joined the team and the progress that's been made, it's really wonderful. So thank you for all of your work. 2 quick points.
Thank you.
And I know everyone's going to view me as a broken record on this issue, but I was just out in San Diego at a program called the Housing Renaissance, and the program opened with 4 very noted national economists speaking about the current state of the housing finance system. And while they noted the recovery and the steps forward that are being made, they all acknowledged that the remnants of the foreclosure crisis are still very much with us, and that's something we all in this room know with the volume of calls for assistance that continue to come in. And we'll talk about private and partnership funding and other opportunities, but the harsh reality is that there are inadequate resources to meet the demand of consumers who are in the loss MIT process right now. I applaud HUD's efforts on the policy side, and I do note that besides funding pre-purchase counseling through FHA, disproportionately the volume of consumers coming from FHA in our foreclosure prevention programs is very, very significant. And we really look forward to working with you to cure that problem in a creative way moving forward. The second point that I'd like to make is really more a question. Perhaps, Phyllis, it's something you're aware of. Several of us in the room have been subject to a FOIA effort from the private sector for the past 5 or 6, I guess it's about 4 years, as a result of third-party efforts to learn more about how funding is used, particularly under the NFMC program. And I'm curious to learn if there are any similar FOIAs currently pending from third-party newspapers or conservative sources looking at the performance of HUD program. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, I can say that for the FOIAs that I have seen, I have not seen any with that as a open or hidden goal. Most of the FOIAs that I have looked at where they spoke about funding had to do with some sort of an investigation related to, extraneous information. But I can tell you that I can check with our office, and you'll have my information. I'll collect yours, and if I can share any of that information with you, I will.
Well, we're going to take a 15-minute break now. The sessions will resume. We have 2 peer sessions coming up. One is on my favorite topic, client management systems, and that will be in this room. And my other favorite topic is reaching those with limited English proficiency, and that will be next door. And we will reconvene shortly. Thank you so much, and thanks to the panel and their teams. Good. Okay. All righty. Welcome back. We have a really interesting segment right now. Yeah, you want to. You're in for a treat. Let me tell you that. We're going to talk. Y'all are having too much fun. Welcome back. We had an exciting morning, and I'll summarize some of the findings from each session at the end of the day. We'll also have materials for you in the future, but right now we're going to move on and talk about telling the housing counseling story. We have a dynamite panel made up of Blair Russell, who's from our Office of Policy Development and Research, and Lauren Banks and Jackie Moore from Creative Marketing Resources. Together, you'll find some very interesting and important work being done on counseling. I have been to several trainings on storytelling, and I don't know have many of you actually been trained as storytellers? A little bit. It's not in the moth sense, but in the sense of making counseling real for your constituencies. And often telling the story involves a person, an urgency, compelling, overcoming obstacles, and that's what storytelling evokes. That's not exactly what we're going to evoke in this panel. We're not going to talk about anecdotes and how to tell them in a compelling way that tugs at your heartstrings and makes you love the program. We're going to tell the story a little differently. We're going to say what we know about housing counseling primarily from the client's point of view, and in particular from the point of view of a client who isn't being bribed or forced to take the program. By bribed, I mean they're motivated by down payment assistance, or their servicer says, I'm required to send you to counseling, or something like that. This is talking about how to think about what clients want and nurture the demand for counseling, so that clients want counseling the same way they might want, or you might want, an Apple Watch, or the latte that Jerry mentioned in one of the sessions, and thinking about what it is the client is thinking about when they are offered to go to counseling. We have 2 sources of input for that. One is from the HUD study on first-time homebuyer education and counseling, a randomized experiment. And the second source is from the work that CMR has done to understand attitudes about housing counseling from clients as well as other stakeholders. I don't want to limit it just to clients. So with that, I'm going to turn the session over to Blair.
Great. Thank you, Sarah, and thanks to everyone for coming to this afternoon session. I'm really excited to be talking about a major piece of HUD-sponsored research around homebuyer education and counseling. I think this is an important research that people are going to be talking about for a long time to come. I'm going to be presenting some early insights, but this is a 10-year-long process and project. I'll be talking about what we've learned so far, and I think it has really big implications for this group. I can tell you a little bit about the implementation of counseling and education services, and probably most importantly, can tell you about household perceptions and needs around those services. So that's going to be my focus today. So in terms of the agenda, I've promised not to spend too much time on methodology. As a researcher, that's what I would spend all of my time talking about. But I will tell you a little bit about how we design this, the research so that you can trust that it's well done. I'll talk about who participated in this, in the research. The real focus of what we could talk about with early insights is when we offer education and counseling services, who takes that offer and who doesn't. I can also talk about what people say once they have taken those services. So that'll be the focus of the results. So overall, the big picture, this is an impact study. So a few years from now, somebody will be up here talking to you about, we've now shown that counseling and education cause this X impact on important things like preparedness for home buying, financial literacy, and sustainability. We're not quite there yet, but just know that's coming. I should tell you a little bit about the design. This is a research project with almost 6,000 participants. So this is a big-time project. It's a national study with participants coming from all around the country. I guess one back here. Okay. So like Sarah said, there are some caveats, and I want to tell you about who we're working with when I talk about participants. So we've restricted the sample to low, moderate, and medium income households. So think about fairly modest income participants. These are first-time buyers, and really importantly, these are folks that enter our research project after having already applied for pre-qualification or pre-approval from a lender. So that's one big caveat. And these also are people that would be voluntarily engaging in these services. So these aren't down payment assistant households that are required to get this counseling. This is a rigorous design. It's a real field experiment with random assignment to a control group who basically we don't offer anything to, and a series of treatment groups who we offer either the opportunity to have in-person, brick-and-mortar counseling and education, or remote. That'll be the other group I'll talk about, so online education or telephone counseling. We also have another group that's offered the choice of those two, and I'll talk about the differences there. And eventually we'll be talking about real data from the credit reporting agencies and the lenders, as well as survey data. So this is something we're going to track over several years. Like any big project, we have lots of partners on this. Maybe most importantly, we got buy-in from 3 large national lenders. We couldn't do this without representing cities across the country. We also have partnered with 63 local HUD-approved counseling agencies in 28 cities around the country. Most of those agencies are NeighborWorks affiliates. For the remote services, eHome America is providing the online education courses. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. And ClearPoint is providing the telephone-based counseling. So I mentioned we're kind of in the middle of this project, and like most research, we kind of learn as we're going and adapt as best we can. One of the first things that we learned is that we aren't dealing maybe with typical population looking for pre-purchase counseling and education. Roughly 40% of our participants had either made a purchase agreement or had already purchased the home. So we're thinking on the fly about how to market services towards this population, and more broadly thinking about home buyer education and counseling rather than pre-purchase. The other thing that we learned quickly is that participation was lower than we expected, particularly in the in-person group. And we adapted our research design to move to that choice option where folks would be able to give their preference for going to an actual location for their services or doing them online and over the phone. I won't get into this too much, but this is a slide to tell you we have a very diverse sample. But if you're trying to think of the typical participant, it's a single person, or at least no co-borrower, and someone who has full employment and at least some higher education. All right, now moving into, I think, the heart of it and some of the results. This slide, and I promise you this is the only table I'll present, is looking at that question of take-up. So when offered the opportunity to take these services, did you actually start? Did you actually go to the first class or log in? Did you complete some of it? So maybe you did the education or the counseling, or did you complete all of the services? And just in the interest of time, I'll focus on the initiating of the services. So that's logging on or going to your first class. And I was hoping to have a laser, but maybe you can follow how I describe it. But if you look at the first row of numbers, I want you to compare the in-person group to the fourth column, which is the remote group. So you'll see there, in terms of initiating services, the in-person group was about 26%. The remote group was at a little over 63%. So obviously some big differences there, but you can already start thinking about the difficulty initiating services online versus actually going to a brick and mortar place. The next comparison I'd like to make is between the two choice groups. So these are folks that indicated to us whether they would prefer in-person or remote services. And those will be shown in the second and third column. So in the choice in-person, about 32% initiated services. The choice group remote is about 64%. So the pattern is still there. The remote has a higher take-up rate. But the other thing to note is that once you've gotten into the choice groups, these folks have talked about their preferences already. The in-person take-up rate goes up compared to those who you didn't give the choice to. So that's really interesting in terms of targeting to folks' preferences. And I will note that the patterns of remote having higher take-up is higher across completion of any service and of all services. Overall, about 55% of our participants actually initiated some type of education or counseling, and 25% completed. So the interesting thing about this research is that we could actually ask people who didn't complete, why not? And we got some really, I think, interesting responses. Really, the biggest finding across the board is that finding the time to do these things was listed as the biggest barrier. That's across modes of delivery, and that's for both education and counseling. The course is too long. The interesting finding there is that more people on the remote treatment side reported that being a barrier compared to the in-person. And that's interesting because both of them, on the education side, they're 8-hour courses. So this is a perception difference that I think we can look into further. And of course, with the in-person, one of the barriers listed was that it's too far away. So access is something that people are thinking about in terms of participation. We also ran a number of focus groups around the country to even go more in depth with folks that both participated, those who didn't, and really had some in-depth discussions with this group. And they gave us a lot of rich and detailed information. The first finding that I wanted to highlight is that across the board, most people said they didn't know that these types of services were available to them. So that was an interesting finding. They also indicated the earlier you receive these services, the better it is, the easier. And for this group, it was mostly retrospective. Wouldn't it have been nice if we had gotten this information earlier in our home buying process? And once again, finding the time being the biggest barrier came up at all of these discussions. Now, on the bright side, there was a lot of positivity around the participants that did complete education and counseling. They talked a lot about the home buying process being very stressful. And the biggest impact, maybe, of these services is reducing that stress and anxiety. So that's one of the high points of participating. They also talked about the tools that they learned and could take away. Maybe on the unexpected side, we found that they didn't talk about using these services and thinking about them saving them money in the long run. When they were prompted to think about that, they said sure, but generally that never came up without prompting. So that's generally not how people are thinking of these services. So now, kind of zooming in even further and looking at the differences between mode of delivery, so in-person versus remote. When it comes to education, the focus groups talked about services in quite a different way. For the in-person participants, they talked a lot about the content, what they learned, understanding the process, the benefits of working with professionals, that sort of thing. With the online, it was all about the mode of delivery. So they talked about the convenience, being able to find everything in one place, the audio and the visual and the quizzes and all sorts of things. They were talking about the actual mode of delivery rather than the content. Both positive, but completely different takes on the positive aspects of the services. On the counseling side, the patterns kind of repeated. The telephone counseling, they talked about the convenience and flexibility. The in-person, they talked about how it was nice to have a face-to-face meeting. So regardless of the mode of delivery, there's positive things, and there's also barriers, as I talked about in the previous slide. So going a little bit even broader, the main takeaways of the research, obviously we're just kind of scratching the surface We're learning a lot more about the types of people that participate or choose not to participate in these services. The main takeaway, I hope you're excited about this project. I hope you're looking forward to the coming years when more and more information is going to come out of this. But if there's like a few facts to remember, I would think about the barriers and time being the big barrier. And some of the positive things, like over half of these people voluntarily started either education or counseling, and a quarter of them completed. And it's hard to ignore that the rates of take-up, or at least initiation, were higher in the remote group relative to the in-person. But again, I would wait and see kind of more of the impact side, whether before we start to make any really big takeaways from that. So next steps, obviously we're kind of midstream here. I would encourage everyone to go to our website. There's a handout in your packet that has links to our studies. And there will be more things coming out very soon. There are 2 studies out released already, which is the Early Insights Report and the Baseline Report. I'd just like to give a very sneak preview of the Early Insights, and they're very positive in terms of impact, finding a statistically significant increase in mortgage literacy in the treatment group versus control, improved communication with the lender, and improved FICO scores. So that's a very big finding. What at least the Early Insights Report didn't find was a difference in budgeting practices, at least at that short run and with that early adapters sample. And then in terms of questions, I'm happy to answer questions, but I've listed Marina Myrie, who's really the main expert on this project and is directing it for HUD. She's in the south of France right now, so I'm here and you're stuck with me. But I think my only job remaining is just to tee up Jacqueline and Lauren. I think they have some exciting research. It's very complementary to what I presented, but they're going to focus a little more on addressing some of the barriers that I brought up. So that'll be great.
Let's hold questions for a minute because we're going to have to do the mic so that people can hear them, all right? But write it down so we get it. Thanks, Sean.
Okay. Thank you, Blair. And I think that what you've heard today is just some of the information that we'll be sharing. Lauren will go into a little more detail around some of the additional research that was done, but certainly looking at all of the research together and then trying to determine, where do we go from here and what are the next steps. So thank you so much. Really, I'm going to take just a few seconds to talk about the CMR team. That's really not our interest today, but I do want you to know just a tiny bit about us. We've spent the last 22 years working with cross-cultural markets, representing both local and federal government clients. We typically focus on underserved markets and have received numerous awards and national recognitions, but enough about us, because this is not about us. So really, what we want to talk about today is an awareness and visibility overview, and just to give you some sneak peeks around what it is that's in store to come. So really, as we look at things, as we took on this assignment, we looked at the mission of OHC and found that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office of Housing Counseling, supports a delivery of a wide variety of housing counseling services wherever one might be on the housing continuum. And that's really from looking at renters to first-time homebuyers to homeowners and to the homeless. The primary objectives of housing counseling and education are to, 1, improve financial literacy, expand home ownership opportunities, preserve home ownership and rental tenancy, and avoid foreclosures and evictions. And so to do so, OHC supports a nationwide network of approved housing counseling agencies who provide the consumer with trusted advice and education so they can make responsible choices about their housing needs. Despite the research proving that housing counseling and education improves consumer housing decisions, prevents foreclosures of defaulted loans, and strengthens homebuyer readiness, many stakeholders, as you'll hear later, are not aware of the value and availability of housing counseling services. The value and the availability of housing counseling services. So as a result, there's a public perception out there that counseling and education are really only for the most challenged consumers. And we know that that is not necessarily the case. There also exists a lack of coordination and alignment for pre-purchase counseling from real estate professionals and mortgage originators who consumers typically seek out first when considering housing decisions. To address the need to build awareness among stakeholders on the benefits of housing counseling, HUD developed an awareness and visibility strategy to build buy-in across multiple stakeholder groups and create a demand for HUD-approved housing counseling. The demand for HUD-approved housing counseling, I'll repeat that. Creative marketing under the direction of OHC is currently undertaking developing the awareness and visibility strategy, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Sarah and her team for their outstanding guidance on this assignment. Special shout out to Arlene and Jerry, Judy, and the entire OHC Tuesdays team, and you know who you are. Now let's briefly review the objectives for the awareness and visibility. We expect to increase stakeholder awareness of housing counseling, positively change stakeholder perceptions of housing counseling, motivate behaviors that lead to acquiring those services, and create partnerships among stakeholders to make the resources readily available. The overall goal is not simply to increase awareness or change perceptions toward housing counseling, but to motivate and empower consumers through education. So let me introduce you to the process or the methodology to effectively implement this awareness and visibility strategy. First, we conducted research among stakeholders to understand perceptions and behaviors related to housing counseling. And you're going to hear some really interesting findings from that research. Messaging development is the next step. Collateral dissemination, once you have a message developed, collateral dissemination is how do we get the message out? And then monitoring and evaluation. And certainly all of us want to make sure that our efforts are being monitored and evaluated to show change. Now I'll turn the presentation over to Lauren Banks, who will talk more about the research, messaging, and dissemination portions.
Thanks, Jackie. Good afternoon, everyone. So as Jackie mentioned, our first step was really research. And what we were trying to do was uncover what are the current perceptions, what's the awareness, the behaviors around HUD housing counseling. And so I'll mention, as Blair mentioned with his study, is that we were really looking at first-time home buyers, so those who are entering into pre-purchase counseling and education. So the big picture of research, I could go on and on forever, and I promise I won't because our time together is limited. So I'm going to give you kind of the 30,000-foot view, if that's fair. So in terms of primary research, we kind of stepped into the process developing what we call a communications audit, and that tells us, how are we disseminating the messaging now? About, around HUD housing counseling. So we looked at what's happening in the news media, what's on social media, what's on the website, and then we did some internal discovery with the OHC team, and we asked them, well, what do you think people think of you? Next, we acted as mystery shoppers, and this was kind of fun. We went out and posed as first-time homebuyers at about 14 different housing counseling agencies across the United States. And then we conducted focus groups. And when we got to the focus group stage, we thought, well, we'll maybe do 5 or 6 focus groups, and that'll be enough. And we ended up conducting 25 focus groups among lenders, real estate professionals, consumers, GSEs, oversight agencies. So we talked to a lot of people. And then we conducted some secondary research, and we had the privilege of reviewing PD&R study and findings and just dozens of other studies that have been conducted on housing counseling. And the purpose really was to uncover what are the value propositions of housing counseling, what do people value about it that we can then take and develop messaging. So in terms of some of the key findings, and a lot of this dovetails onto what you heard earlier from Blair, but firstly, knowledge is power. First-time homebuyers tend to feel like their lives are just slipping out of control. We're all so busy, and then you add trying to buy a house to that, and it starts to get crazy for them. And so what's unfortunate about it is that most of them said that they didn't even enter into housing counseling or that process until after they already started, or maybe even as the last step right before closing. But the key is that the knowledge is what empowers them. And what we even found as mystery shoppers at housing counseling agencies is that they're really instilling that knowledge. They're not telling consumers what to do. They're just giving them the knowledge and the information so that they can make the best decision for them. Trust is really imperative. And while we know that consumers tend to trust lenders because that's the person that they probably have the most contact with, they also see the lender as somebody who has a financial stake in it. And they recognize that, and they really see their trust in their housing counseling agency as somebody who, even if they're charging a nominal fee, this is not someone who's here to make a lot of money off of me, whereas a lender and a real estate professional will make, quite a bit of money. Outreach drives awareness. We know that the more we talk about it, the more we get messaging out there, the more consumers know about it. And we actually had people ask us during the focus groups, well, are you on TV? Are you on social media? Can I hear you on the radio? So they're looking for that information. Next, there's what we call a good housekeeping seal of approval when it comes to HUD. There is somewhat of a stigma around HUD, and I'm sure you all have heard it. People see it as, housing counseling is only for the most challenged consumers. However, there's also this feeling that if they see that HUD seal, they trust it. There's a lot of information out there about home buying that's not coming from trusted sources. And so consumers see that HUD seal and they feel like that's the good housekeeping seal of approval. I know I can trust this information. And then lastly, appealing to millennials is really key. What we found is that this is the do-it-yourself generation, right? I mean, people want to go online themselves. They want to find the information. It needs to be quick and in a hurry. Jackie calls us the microwave generation. But this is important to the work that we're doing because we know that there are organizations like Rocket Mortgage that are appealing to this market because they see it as it's quick and it's fast, but is it trustworthy and is it valuable data? And so I think appealing to millennials and messaging to them is really going to be key. So this next slide is what I like to call, say what? These are things that we actually heard during our focus group research. The first is housing counseling is the best kept secret, which I know kills me to hear it, but it's true. Wish I had known about this. You heard Blair talk about this earlier. People are not finding out about housing counseling until they're way into the process. I did not know that these programs existed for all homeowners. So again, believing that housing counseling is really only available for people who are challenged. Housing counseling is for low-income individuals. And again, I think that this sentiment kind of leads us back to the fact that the term counseling, we found, tends to be a problem. And so we took it a step further, and we asked folks, well, what term would you use to substitute counseling? And housing advisor was actually the term that was number one among all of our stakeholders. Get in front of consumers when they first start thinking about buying a home. We absolutely know this is true. This is something that we've got to make housing counseling that first step. And then finally, HUD is Section 8, right? So those are just some of the things that we heard. So answering the so what. Obviously, research is a lot of fun and can be exciting, but we need to understand what the value propositions are for each of our stakeholder groups and how do we move that forward into messaging. And so I'll review some of those stakeholder value propositions with you now, and then we'll talk about how do we move this into message development and then further disseminating the message. So the first is internal, and when we say internal, we mean HUD. We mean folks that work in the Office of OHC. So housing counseling informs and educates consumers about the benefits, advantages, and then perceived risks associated with housing choices. From an institution standpoint, now these are the lenders, these are the financial institutions, the licensed real estate professionals. They see housing counseling as producing knowledgeable, better prepared consumers, which saves them time and money. During our focus groups with lenders, we heard over and over again that they were spending so much time educating a consumer on the process in general, only to find out the person wasn't mortgage ready anyway. And so when you get to the thick of it, it's the housing counselor that's really going to be able to send you a qualified buyer. From the oversight agency perspective, housing counseling plays a significant role in educating consumers just to make better housing decisions, especially when it comes to budgeting and wealth management. And then finally, consumers see housing counseling as a trusted resource that really empowers them to make whatever housing decision they want to make. And so regardless if they're looking to buy a home or they're renting or they're in default, this is the organization, or these are the organizations that are going to empower them to make those decisions. So where do we go from here? Our next step is really how do we develop messaging and disseminate that messaging that meets that value proposition for each stakeholder group, because obviously, as you can see from the different value propositions, the way we talk to our different stakeholders is not going to be the same for each audience. So after determining these value propositions, we kind of took it back to our creative team and decided that we need to have kind of an overarching message or tagline for the Office of Housing Counseling, and that message is, let's make home happen. And when we say home, we're not necessarily talking about a house that you buy, because even if you rent, you say, I'm going to go home, or I'm inviting people into my home. And so home is really a term that just means where you live, where you reside. And then the let's make home happen is really meant to be a collaboration. We know that consumers are going to go to realtors, they're going to go to real estate agents to get information, and so let's work together to get that consumer into the best possible housing situation. So next, we just wanted to give you a couple of examples of how we can develop vehicles to get the messaging out. The first is a potential newsletter that could go to real estate agents. And again, we would be using the value proposition that we've determined from the research to speak to those audiences. We know that a relationship with lenders among housing counseling agencies and intermediaries is really important. So developing those toolkits so that the counselors know how to start those conversations. And then lastly, consumers. Developing materials that really speak again to the fact that consumers want to be empowered by the information, but it needs to be at their fingertips. They need to be able to get to it quickly. And I'm going to ask Jackie to pass around our posters. We're hoping that all of you have now received them, and if not, please make sure that we get your business card. But we developed these posters and disseminated them, I think, at the end of 2016. But this is the Beat the Odds with Housing Counseling, and this is an example of how you can take the value proposition of housing counseling and speak to the market. And I think we've gotten pretty good results in terms of the value that people see in this information. And it was disseminated in both English and Spanish. And then just in terms of getting the message out and dissemination, one of the first things that we thought about is storytelling videos. We know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's definitely nice to read a testimonial on someone's website, but everything nowadays, especially with millennial audiences, is social media, and it's sharing, and it's watching videos. And how powerful would it be to have actual clients talk about their experience with housing counseling, whether it was being able to stay in their home or being able to purchase a home. And we know that the folks who work on the Bridge newsletter would love to hear your stories. And so, giving those stories over to them, and so that we can develop videos that could be uploaded and shared on the website, on YouTube. But again, a way to quickly get the message in the hands of the consumer, but in a way that's going to resonate. We know that social media we see as really the new word of mouth. This is the way that everybody is communicating. And one of the things that we continually heard during our focus groups is HCAs want to use social media, but they don't always know how, which platform should I be on, how often should I be posting, what should I be posting. And so this is a way to kind of come together as a collaboration and develop some content that we can all share and work together. And finally, we know that partnerships are imperative, and that kind of takes me back to my earlier point about social media, but also taking it a step further and working together with the lenders, with the GSEs. And we're finding the same data all around, and so really making a collaboration and developing materials that we can all use to get one message out. So with that, I'm going to be mindful of my time and open it up for questions.
So well, thank you, first of all, to the panelists, and a lot of food for thought, some of that we've talked about last year. And I do have to say that for HUD, supporting both the research and the work that creative marketing has done, it's tough in the sense that HUD is not always nimble around these things or fluent in the language, but also it takes us a long time to collect the resources, and then frankly in an administration change to talk about awareness and visibility and switch gears to new people coming in with new priorities has been, it's required to educate them about the work going on. We'll say across the board they've been incredibly supportive and excited about the research that PD&R is doing and about the research and work that CMR is doing. So we very much have a lot of support on that. But we're really interested in hearing from you, questions you have, and Cheryl gets the first question, and how we can use this to help you more, ideas that you have that you may want to make others aware of, any suggestions you have on so that we're no longer the best kept secret. Yes, you do need to go to the microphone. We're recording this and people won't be able to hear.
Okay, hi, thank you. So I think you guys have done a wonderful job so far with the marketing materials that you've done. My question is to Blair. On the research that's being conducted, you looked at in-person counseling, remote counseling, and whether consumers like in-person or remote. In your further research, will you look at whether or not consumers are willing to pay for the service?
I should say I have not been involved in this process from the beginning, from the research design. I don't remember hearing about that or reading about that being part of the research design.
Yeah. There may be, I'm pretty sure not. In fact, the research participants are paid. So when they reach certain milestones, they're paid as study subjects for their time to participate in the study, because they get to answer many pages of questions at each stage of the research. What we hope is that some of the findings will make the value proposition to consumers. So for example, if we can say counseling causes, to use Blair's word, a rise in FICO scores, all other things being equal, that's a value proposition that can be linked to financial benefit.
Sarah, I think you might have just answered my question, but Blair, I was going to ask you how the participants were informed about the counseling and their opportunity to participate. And then I have a follow-up question.
Sure. So Sarah might have to help me with this. I believe they were identified through the lender, and the communication was through the lender.
Okay. So through an individual loan officer, or was there some sort of centralized point of contact at the lenders to try and encourage participation, or?
I'm going to answer not as well as Marina would, but the remarkable thing about the study was that people were contacted pretty much at first contact with any loan officer or online inquiry with the opportunity to participate with the study if they were determined to be income eligible first-time home buyers. And that was a key part of the randomization and the causation, because the concern was that if you pick people from counseling agencies, they've already self-selected, even if they're going voluntarily. So it removes all of that self-selection. But as Blair said, then you result in a little different population than the people that counseling agencies are usually seeing.
Okay. And then a question for CMR. We've been doing this work for a long time, and I think we all have tried a variety of strategies for reaching particularly our industry partners. And I personally feel like we've made some headway with lenders, but the real estate agents or the real estate professionals are a little bit harder to really rein in. And I'm just wondering if you've thought about any, if you've dived into that a little bit deeper and thought of any really unique strategies for that particular population.
I'll take that one. Thank you. I agree that they're a unique group of people.
You got some in the room.
But one of the things that we heard during the focus groups is that they're encountering the same thing as the lenders. They're spending a lot of time trying to educate consumers. In fact, many of them spend, a whole day or a half a day educating consumers. And so one of the things that we discussed is, what if we could provide you with a video that kind of, shepherds your client through the process? Would that be helpful? And so that was something that they were interested in. And so that's one of the things that we discussed, was the storytelling videos, because if we're partnering with a real estate agent or a group of real estate agents, and we can provide those tools to them so that they don't have to do the education, that kind of helps for it, again, to be a collaborative effort, and they're not feeling like they're in competition with that counselor, if that makes sense.
Matt?
Hi, this question is for Blair. I was curious if you could talk a bit about the homeownership sustainability component of the research. Are you looking at loan product type selection, FHA versus private, low down payment versus, a more standard mortgage type, and how that might impact the sustainability down the road?
Yes, I think we're getting actual loan performance data, which would include every bit of information that we could get about the loan, and the research will be designed to control for all those things. Now, across treatment groups or treatment and control, because of random assignment, those things in aggregate should be equal across groups. So even if we didn't control for those things, the overall impact analysis should be valid and reliable. But like you said, if you were going to look at it on an individual level, you would definitely want to control for all those other factors.
Good afternoon. This question is for Blair. I wanted to ask what was the age bracket per choice, and also were there any aha moment, per demographics?
Choice by age. That's
no, a choice by age. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I would point you to our report. I would say, and I didn't mention this in my talk, but 85% of people given the choice did select remote. So that was the overwhelming choice amongst those who we gave that option.
Across demographics.
Across demographics, yeah. But you mentioned zooming in on different demographic groups is a really important part of it, and that's a great question.
Thank you.
Any aha moments on the demographics that you recall?
Not off the top of my head, but that's when I first read the report when I joined HUD. I remember writing lots of notes in the margins like, I want to know more about who's making these decisions, what's driving it, because that's really, I think, where you get some important takeaways on targeted marketing and outreach and that sort of thing.
I think for this group, granularly we will be very interested to see if there's any aha moment in demographics.
The one, I'll point to on the slide that's in your group on on slide 8, probably look different than the consumers that you see. And, either race, gender, education, employment, co-borrower, all of those areas. And I think thinking about the difference between people who randomly just go to a lender and the people who are choosing to come to a counseling agency, the way I interpret that is you are missing a big part of the market. There is a little part of the market that wants your services and knows enough or is sent to your services. There is a big part of the market that is not there, even if you are capping the income. So it's something to think about that way. Thank you.
And there's a summary sheet in your packet that has some further details on all of our work.
Yeah.
I think.
Great. Karen. Yep.
So 2 questions. The first is to Blair. You had skipped over one of the bullet points that I'm curious about on what were some of the general focus group findings. It says participants had mixed feelings on who should provide education and services, meaning someone other than housing counselors?
So that actually really relates to the CMR presentation. That was about whether it mattered whether it was a government-sponsored or government-approved counseling opportunity versus not. And the focus groups had some of the same stigma that arose when you mentioned that, but also kind of a validation as well. So it's a mixed bag. That's one of the reasons why I skipped over it.
See, you can't do that in this crowd.
But you read very closely, so that's great.
You got you, That's right. You got you.
And then my second question is for CMR. I love the Let's Make Home Happen. I think the poster is great. How can we be advising our affiliates to use these materials?
With the posters are already available, so many of you should have them, and if you don't, please let us know. We'll make sure that you have those to post in your own offices. But as materials become available and as they get approved, and as Sarah mentioned earlier, it's a little bit slower process than we may have anticipated. But from that standpoint, as soon as those are available, we will be making those available to all of the entities that desire them.
So just if I could add a couple of things. We actually sent the poster to everybody in HCS. And when we say validate your data and we're a pain in the neck and we say don't use P.O. boxes, all of your affiliates, Karen and Maine, just to name a few.
That's what I get for standing up.
I speak as managing her portfolio. A number of the posters came back undeliverable. And so I would, just make sure that there's a way for us to deliver them to you and to your affiliates. The style and the logo that you see have been approved for use by my office, and you'll see our materials like these PowerPoint decks using the new style guide and using the logo and tagline. We are exploring but don't believe we can trademark our logo and tagline. We also don't believe you can use the HUD logo in discussions of a HUD certified counseling agency, and we can, as we get materials, we will provide you guidelines for that. Most of what we put up, like the poster, is designed to be shared. Where we can allow you to co-brand, we will, like having a little blank space, but that gets complicated for us, so we're working through that.
So can a group in their newsletter, put a title that says "Let's Make Home Happen"?
Right now, yes, we'd like that to be a little more controlled. So I think right now we'd prefer to hang on to that as the HUD identification and work through that. But certainly the idea is to be able to identify the network that way. So that's how we want it to be used. I'm just worried we can't control it quite yet. So, but thanks for raising that, and we'll continue to push for that.
Thanks.
Okay, I can take 3 more questions, and then we're done.
So one of the big issues is out there in pre-purchase counseling and education is that the majority of people are going to that when they're already in the process, when a loan's already been selected, when they're already in escrow. And so that represents, if I'm being generalizing, about 80% of the traffic, right? And so what does this study and messaging endeavor do to understand that problem statement and pull in not just the 20% that, like you say, are identifying to go there, but how do we then message that? And are you describing the differences in what's happening there when it's mostly lender-driven, mostly post-transaction being selected? In other words, and then we hear, like in the Fannie Mae study, that a lot of those people then say, I wish I'd have known about this before I had selected that loan or gotten into escrow.
So part of our positioning that we hope to do as part of the strategy is to really position housing counseling as the first thing you do, not the last thing you do. And so, that's a behavior change. So that's a little bit difficult, but certainly, it can be done. We've watched other behavior changes take place, all the time. So from that standpoint, we want to really position it differently to say the first thing you do when you think about any housing situation, whether it's renting, home buying, foreclosure, whatever, wherever you are in that housing continuum, that you think about, the first thing I should do is really go talk to a housing counselor, and then let me arm myself with the information that I need so that I can make informed decisions. Because we know that knowledge is power, according to the individuals that we've talked to, that they said, if I just give me the knowledge and I'll do my own thing. And so we want to position our housing counseling agencies as that knowledge source. And where do we go to get that information where it can be trusted?
Blair, will you be looking at the data, the loan performance on the differences there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I almost pitched it as kind of a negative thing when we found out a lot of the participants were far in the process. But if that's what the actuality is in the market, we can learn a lot from those cases. So it's actually a really good thing to have them in our sample.
Gene.
Yeah. Question for CMR. You noted that the term advisor is preferable or more appealing than counselor, but in all the materials, we, again, reiterate counselor. Did you consider and were not able to incorporate advisor in that framing, or I'm just kind of curious about that?
It's a work in progress. We are. We've just proposed that perhaps we should look at how do we do that and how do we start to refer to ourselves. And I know one of the things that we've talked about is as housing counselors are certified, that now perhaps they become certified advisors. But again, that's all left back to Sarah and her team and the timing of how do we actually roll that out.
And make that decision.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And make the decision, right.
Good. Bruce.
So I'm trying to get my head around why the study's showing that so many more people wanted to do the phone or the remote. And if you exclude millennials, can you give sort of what your take on that? Because that's not our experience, that most people, when you were asked, and particularly if you're low or moderate income, really want to do the face-to-face. So what is your opinion in terms of for the panel on that,
That's a good
on
question.
that piece?
That is a great question. I don't know if I have a great answer driven by the research, but there's absolutely one would expect some dynamics around age and preferences of different age groups driving some of that.
Although I think there's less than you'd think. So if you go to the study itself, you can see the tables, and age is not a particularly strong correlator. If you imagine somebody who's never heard of counseling agreeing to do research and then being told you got to spend the next 8 hours in an education class, most people will choose online. And so the difference between how you're marketing, and how you're reaching folks who want to be in person, and are you and the power of choice, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. The power of just saying you have the alternative you choose winds up with higher take-up. And then thinking about your own completions versus initial engagement and those differences, I think it's a lot to think about. But you can go to the study itself and you'll see it's not that skewed by age. You'd be surprised.
And we actually found a little bit.
Oh, the study is on the handout in your sheet. There's a link to it on the HUD webpage. Thank you. Yeah, Bruce.
And just one last thing. With all the outreach, so assuming that goes great, get a lot more people coming through counseling, is the capacity there around the country to do that much more counseling?
So I'm going to take
Good
that
problem
one.
to have, right?
Yeah.
No.
And as a counseling agency at one time, I did not want more awareness going on because I didn't have the ability to handle them, especially on the foreclosure side. But our view is that two things, I think. One is that if consumers are demanding the service, the money will follow more easily. And whether that's fee-for-service or partnership stakeholders or whatever, if the consumers want it, you have a different proposition there. The other is that the counseling industry has tremendous capacity to grow to meet need, and went from 1 million to 3 million served in 1 year, with 2 years, I guess, with sufficient funds. And so it is about money ultimately, not about organic capacity or what your capacity is today. And I think that though you will tell us, maybe the answer is no, don't make us more aware, we can't deal with it. Hopefully some of these revenue paths and some of the attitudes of partners changing, behavior of consumers will come together in a way that's sustainable and will support an expanded network. But these are great points. Thanks for your feedback on this. We look forward to continuing the dialogue. Please join me in thanking them for the work they did to present this today. We are going to take a 15-minute break. We are going to come back for a very exciting session on billing methodologies, which I'm actually not kidding at all. And that will start in this room.
Okay, you're having too much fun. We're supposed to meet and mingle, but we have to get back to work. So if you can take your seats, because we're going to have an exciting time coming. Don't hold me to it. Now, earlier today, I was talking about the fact that we really are, and what changes that we made in 2017 and what we want to do going forward is to provide as much technical assistance and support as we can. And I actually identified a couple of topics because some things have really changed as a result of changing regulation and rules. And it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult to stay on top of that. So in this coming next few minutes, or maybe an hour, we're going to spend time talking about billing methodology. Now, this came to us as a topic that was very important to you and one that you needed some more information on. So we're going to try our best to give you as much information as you can and to let you know that if there's anything that you need beyond this, please reach out. I don't want anybody sitting at their desk scratching their head trying to figure out how to do a bill when we have the resources right here to help you. That's what we're here for. So, to tell us about billing methodology and to give us the kind of information we need, we've asked Robin Booth to come forward. Now, everybody knows Robin Booth, I assume, right? So, without further ado, I'll ask Robin to come forward and we'll begin our conversation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. At least you all have like a lunch an hour and a half ago, right? So I'm not the first speaker after lunch because that's always a very tough time to talk. I don't know how many of you all were able to participate in the webinar yesterday for overview of procurement. Did any of y'all participate in that? This is one of the other topics that we're continually assessing, the various topics that may cause you to have some additional administrative burden in trying to work through the quagmire of this new regulation. And every time we do this, I'm always thinking, how can we make it simpler? Not suggesting that, that you all can't comprehend more complex issues, but unless it's something you do all the time, unless your background is finance and accounting, certain things just don't come naturally or inherently. So even with this topic, just like with procurement and some other topics, the goal today is to make it simple. Hopefully, when you leave, it will be very clear as you're reviewing your sub-grantees proposals that they're submitting, as you're doing your own billing methodologies that you're submitting for your agencies, on what the expectation is. And in light, that saves times for payment, for reimbursements, that saves time with review of your quarterly reports and your submissions. So my goal is, one, to make it simple, and I hope that we've done that. In addition to this presentation, though, what we've also done, and it's on the HUD Exchange from what I understand, I think Shauna told me, is that we've actually given you a guide for doing billing methodologies that'll be available on HUD Exchange. I know one of the things that Sarah says she wanted to have as takeaways is that as we bring up topics, we wanted you to you then to have resources to go back and refer to them. It's one thing to hear the training and 29 pages of potential PowerPoint presentation, but it's another thing to be able to actually go read and refer back to, and or ask your staff or others involved in the process to go read and have a resource to understand it. And everything we're writing, we're trying to write it in layman terms, not just from a very high-level technical area. So this is that exciting area of, let me make sure I get this right, okay, of billing methodology. The whole terminology, billing methodology, all we really care about is how you want to get paid. What's going to be your method to justify how you get paid under this cost reimbursement type grant? So unlike other grants where you may have a firm fixed fee and it's pretty straightforward, even under this grant, if it's a firm fixed fee, it's a firm fixed fee reimbursement. So it's still based on actual costs. I think a lot of you noticed probably in the FY15 grant that now you had the option for firm fixed fee reimbursements. How many of you all have even tackled that as an option? Anybody here using the firm fixed fee reimbursement method? Okay, so hopefully it's some benefits to that method depending on how much data you maintain relative to timekeeping and having actual data on hours it takes to provide counseling. And it could be a viable option. So hopefully, too, today, you may leave here and determine that that may be something we want to do. Because if you get the firm fixed fee approved up front, then you don't have to do at every quarter, every hour, times every rate, times every, you can just submit the fixed fee as you finish the counseling session. So HUD included that in the grants to give you yet another option to make it a much simpler process for reimbursement. So we're going to talk about a lot of that today. So we'll go over this whole billing methodology concept, what's acceptable, how do you apply it, and then best practices. If you looked at the materials, you'll see we give you an example. Part of a billing methodology, too, is that whole fringe benefit, which is another area that oftentimes is confusing because when you're looking at how do I actually compute my fringe benefits? What is fringe benefits? How do we take advantage of it? One of the questions we get all the time is, well, this employee, they took 2 weeks vacation. How am I going to be able to bill them under the HUD contract because you can only bill based on actual hours? That's where you're supposed to have a fringe benefit rates. That's compensated leave is a component of your fringe benefit rate. So for some, when they're trying to figure out, well, we're losing money again because you're not paying us for when they're on vacation and all of those things. Well, no, this is a cost reimbursement, so it was your responsibility to understand how to include those kinds of costs in things like your fringe benefit rates. And we're definitely going to go over that. So from your perspective, your sub-grantees, because, you all become HUD. That's one of the things, too, that under the new uniform guidance, they've really emphasized sub-grantee oversight and monitoring. So now you have these sub-grantees that are submitting information in a whole lot of formats. I know some of you try to give them the format and say, okay, this is how you have to submit your billings. This is how you're going to compute your bills. And give them those templates and forms and all of those things. Sometimes those templates aren't quite right. So what happens is when we look at a sub-grantee and we come back to the sub-grantee and they say, oh, but the parent gave it to me. This is what the intermediary gave to me and this is what I'm forced to use. So part of 2 today is hopefully by clarifying it, you can go back and look at some of your templates you're using and make sure you're giving out accurate templates because we do hear those in our reviews. We do hear this is the template that was provided and we're just following with our intermediary. And we try to be very careful in saying that it's not wrong, but y'all is wrong. we do everything we can to massage the language, you know, working in partnership, all of those things. But the bottom line, it is wrong. So hopefully, too, that's another takeaway that I hope you all get from today's session. So as far as their documentation of their methodology, of how document method for how the organization will bill HUD, you don't have a lot of choices. One, you don't have a lot of budgetary line items on these budgets. Your sub-grantees aren't submitting budgets for a couple of $100,000. You're talking $10,000 to $25,000. So if, in fact, they're submitting a lot of line items, you may want to discuss with them what's the best use of funds. One of the things that we see now is because a lot of times it's awarded late, agencies said, we've already done all of the counseling, so now we got to figure out how to spend this $15,000 or $20,000 because you've already done it. So now they're like, oh, well, let's just put it to rent, or oh, let's just try to find another equipment or something like that. The challenge with that is that even for those dollars, there still has to be a benefit, the overall benefit to the purpose of the grant, which was to provide housing counseling. So it gets tough to just say, oh, let's just stick it here because we got to spend this money, but we've already done all of the counseling. So part of this, too, is to hope that you can take these methodologies and apply them retroactively so that you can then go say, okay, some of this counseling that wasn't covered by another grant where it was a cost reimbursement, okay, we know how to go back now. We know how to tell sub-grantees to go back. We know how to tell them to fix their billing so that we can submit it and everyone's correct. So that's part of the goal here, too. I skipped one. What is a methodology? Any employee funded by a federal grant must document the time that they spent. So in this methodology, which is just really how you're going to bill, everything still has to be documented. One day in the very near future, there will not be findings for timekeeping and PAR. I know it's going to happen. I am confident. We have this PARS guide coming out to make it as simple as possible to tell you how to track this information because you don't need this report. One finding I hope disappears is timekeeping and PARS. Everybody got to do a timesheet. And on a timesheet, you have to have an account or some kind of project code for HUD for each grant separately, and you have to have some kind of coding or something for activities. And it got to be signed by the employee and supervisor. That one we can fix. I just know we can. I am confident. There is a PARS guide that we're working on. It's going through the levels of review. Not that old one. I know that old one was complicated. It confused me. And I read it. It's like 30 pages to tell you how to do a PARS. This one's about 7 pages. And it gives you about 4 or 5 options for how to do this. So it makes it simple. So as a layman, you can pick it up and understand because that's so important, the documentation for this. Now, for the fixed cost reimbursement, which it sounds like most of you all haven't tackled, maybe because you don't understand how that would work. Same concept. You still have to have documentation. But basically what HUD is saying is y'all been doing this a long time. Y'all know how many hours it takes to do these counseling sessions. Within your system, hopefully this timekeeping that you're keeping, you can pull reports or data to say, on average, it takes, or these are the hours it takes, 11.5 for this session or 10 for this kind of session. And when you have that kind of data, HUD is saying, okay, we'll take that. Use that to determine a fixed hourly rate, a fixed rate using that times the number of hours to get a fixed rate, and we'll let you bill that fixed rate each time for every counseling session. Wouldn't that be great? How much easier? But y'all got to do it, though. I mean, that's what did any of y'all realize that's what it was about? That's the whole purpose of that whole fix. So hopefully after the day, too, some of you all really want to execute that. So in the 16 and 17 grant, I'm trying not to put my glasses on because y'all, I'm still in denial that I can't see nothing without these. I can't see anything without these glasses, but I'm going to put them on anyway. So in your 16 and 17 grant agreement, and this was in the 15 too. This is not new to the 16 and 17, the fixed fee reimbursement and things of that nature. The language as it relates to how you do the billing, that hasn't changed. You know, your grantee's name and address, start and end dates, that's all a part of your quarterly reporting. Now, though, if you look, this is, I'm clicking way too fast. This is the part that hopefully, I can't point to nothing, I'm pointing. This is the part that hopefully you all pick up on. The fixed price reimbursement. Grantee must document actual expenses which must be reasonable and does not exceed actual costs. That is the new terminology in here relative to billing. So what will happen is you will tell in your application process or grant execution when you submit your budget and you will tell your HUD POC, this is how we determine the number of hours it takes per session. You will either say we do some kind of staffing analysis or we pulled out timesheets, and because we do such a great job of tracking time for the HUD grant, it's real easy for us to identify those employees that work on the HUD grant, and we have their hours because we've tracked them by HUD, and we can tell you that based on our historical data, this is how we determine the number of hours we're going to use for a firm fixed price. That's what that fixed rate, make sure I say it right, fixed price reimbursement provides. And that's in your 16 and 17 grant agreement. So a lot of you are going through the grant execution process now, don't know where you are in the process, but this is the time to consider that if you want to request that as your billing methodology. So what happens is your methodology will be based on that, not based on actual hours times the hourly rate, which is what you've been submitting. You'll be giving them a fixed fee amount. But you have to, the methodology is your explanation on how, one, you determine the hours per session or per counseling session, and two, the rate. So we'll still look at the hours to make sure it's reasonable, and we'll still look at the rate. And it may vary. You may have different firm fixed price based on the type of counseling. Y'all, that's allowed. That is allowed now. That is allowed. So every quarter, instead of trying to figure out your fringe rate, because I know a lot of y'all spend a lot of time trying to figure out a lot of things to make this report work or to make it retroactive by the person, and then I got to go find a timesheet to make sure I'm matched up to the person because I'm trying to make this retroactive. Not under the firm fixed price. Firm fixed reimbursement. Firm fixed reimbursement, that's no longer, you don't have to do that. So what's determining your acceptable methodology? So this gives you examples for the type of cost of what's an acceptable methodology. I know I'm focusing a lot on labor or the actual labor because usually that's a lot with your sub-grantees that you're going to see. The challenge for you is you have to be able to review their methodologies to make sure they're acceptable. So it's one thing for you to submit your methodology to HUD and to your POC, but then you in turn have to know enough to be able to review their methodologies and say it's acceptable. And you know what y'all can't do? Y'all can't tell them they can't try it. You can't tell them you have to do this. You can't tell them you have to do an hourly rate and not this fixed price reimbursement because we don't understand it yet. They as a flow down clause, y'all know the clauses flow down from your grant to their grant. They have a right if they can provide a methodology that makes sense. So that means you all have to understand enough to be able to determine if this is acceptable methodology. And HUD is really relying on your determination. If you say it's acceptable, the only time we'll determine it's not is in a financial and administrative review when we do the oversight and monitoring. So, and can you imagine how much simpler your life would be if, in fact, they come up with a methodology that makes sense? So now that you're just looking at units, I'm going to use another, units times the fixed fee amount. That's it. Not all the other data that they have to submit. Now, they have to be able, on the financial and administrative review, when we come in, we're going to look at their methodology and say, well, look at their historical data and just verify that it supports how they came up with their computation. Oh, we'll do that, but that's on the back end. And that's in the financial and administrative review. So as far as determining acceptable methodologies with labor, which is pretty much most of the budgets, we're usually looking at some kind of actual hourly rate times the number of hours that they actually work. That doesn't include any leave, it doesn't include holiday, inclement weather, none of those things. Hours that they actually work. A lot of the challenge there is if they're salaried, how do we determine the hourly rate, which is part of one of the illustrations and examples we're gonna go over. If you're paying them hourly, you don't have to figure it out. That's the rate you use. Whatever you're paying them hourly, your fully loaded rate, that's what you use. This isn't a contract. You don't get to add 10%. That's what it is. So you don't got to convert hourly to hourly. It's just if it's salary to hourly, that's your conversion factor. So that's one methodology. Fringe benefits, if in fact you're going to claim, and a lot of you don't claim. I mean, a lot of your subgrantees don't claim fringe benefits. One, because they may not have them, to be honest with you, other than your normal employer share of FICA and Medicare. They may not have benefits package, which makes sense. So that's nothing there to really compute. But if they do, you all have to know what's included in the fringe benefits and be able to at least look at what they submitted and say, okay, for instance, you would know that in fringe benefits, they should have compensated leave. And if they choose not to, that's fine, but you should also know that they shouldn't have travel as a part of their fringe benefits. See, that's the kind of thing you have to know. They may choose to give you some abbreviated version of their fringe benefits, but they can't include accounts that aren't fringe benefits. That's your challenge to know as you're reviewing their information. Now, the indirect costs, that's a whole nother class on a whole nother day. So it depends on what they're doing, whether you're dealing with NICRAs, whether you're dealing with them electing the 10% de minimis rate, understanding when it's best for them to use whatever option or who's eligible for that option. But in fact, if it is, one of those has to be, they're accepted. They don't have a lot of flexibility with that as far as a billing methodology. They got two choices. They got a NICRA or they're taking three. NICRA, they're eligible in electing to take the 10% de minimis rate, or they're just not charging indirect costs. That's it. Some of them say, well, I have a state rate. That's great. You just can't use it on this. Or I have a local or another agency has approved if they're not a federal agency, that indirect rate cannot be used for this grant. They have two choices, three. I keep forgetting the one about not electing not to have any indirect costs. That's it. Our great fixed price reimbursement, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, give an example. And with that, because it's new, and that's probably, I don't know if did any of you all have questions about that? Y'all didn't, everybody just had questions about how to convert from salary to hourly. Is that it? You had questions about that? Did anybody consider using that, the fixed price? We have used fixed price for many years. Mm-hmm. For 10 years. When we did our first review, you said that we could not. Yep. I'm not sustainable. And so now I'm hearing that we can, and I'm like, but that's what we were doing for 7 years. Well, because your grant, that wasn't in the grant agreement for those prior years. Well, maybe, however, that was what we always proposed to HUD. Okay. And that's what we always turned in. And there was never any issue as to you can't do this and not, the methodology was there. Everything, you couldn't determine if we overpaid or underpaid. But this was we had the number for this service, we estimate for this many hours. This is what we're going to pay for that many hours. Now, I want to be clear when she said estimated this many hours. Your hours has to be based on historical data. You still have to provide the rationale for. Yeah, but that wasn't this didn't become effective to the FY15 grant. And the prior grants, this whole fixed price reimbursement was not there. So HUD just put that in place. So your agency wasn't the only one that evidently had been doing it that way, and we had to tell them you can't do it that way. Maybe you helped trigger for them to say, yeah, let them do it that way. So we might have to give. Okay, so then how? But let me just, I don't want to interrupt you unless, can we kind of get through most of the presentation? Okay.
We will have question and answer. Okay. But I don't want us to lose some of it because we get stuck on one.
Gotcha. And when we do have questions, Shauna just told me you have to go to the microphone. They won't pick up. You have to go to the microphone. But at the end, I'll make sure we have questions, if we have time for questions. So one of the first, and then travel reimbursement based on actual costs. So if they have travel, they should tell you what their methodology was. Either they looked it up on Expedia or Priceline somewhere and came up with flights information, and then got their per diem information off of GSA. Y'all, that's all billing methodologies. That's just the thought process and justification for how you're billing these particular line items. So those are acceptable methodologies. Now, how do you apply it? One of the first things we generally, with you all, it comes up is how do we go from salary to hourly? to compute the standard hourly rate. And then what's your actual hourly rate? Now, this is the challenge. The lower your actual hours, the higher the rate. What do I mean by that? So let's say you all have part-time employees. They don't work 2,080 hours. You're not paying them any fringe benefits. So pretty much, and even though they're not hourly, you're still paying them a salary, but they're not working a full-time. Generally, you don't convert their time to an hourly basis. Pretty much, if they do their 30 hours a week, they get their salary, and they still have some form of leave. You may have actual hours worked less than what's generally allowable as far as available hours worked for a year. Everybody knows 2,080 is pretty much the number of hours per year that generally represent work hours. Your hours could be different. Not just from the benefit side, but actual hours. Some people, their actual hours aren't 8 hours a day because you give them a half an hour lunch, so it's really 7.5. We've gone through that analysis sometimes. So you have to determine what your actual hours are, but we're just giving you some benchmarks for looking at it. So under this scenario we're going to look at here, we have a full-time employee with a salary of $40,000 a year. They operate 5 days per week for 8 hours per day for 52 weeks per year. And each employee is entitled to 15 days paid vacation, 8 holiday, and 5 paid. Why am I saying that? This is another area where your fringe benefit rate per person could change. The more compensated leave you give, so let's say people get 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, or depending on your position, you get 3 or 4 weeks of vacation or paid time off as opposed to another position that gets 2 weeks. For instance, the housing counselor may get paid time off 15 days, but the manager, the executive administrator, who's also billing time as direct because they properly justified it, they get 25 days. Well, because fringe benefits a computation, that means that fringe benefit rate for the manager is going to be a little bit higher than that of the housing counselor because they have to include more compensated leave in their fringe benefit rate. Does that make sense? So that's why when people always ask me, well, isn't it a standard fringe benefits? No, it's not. You have to look at, especially for this grant, you got to look at the people you're proposing and determine what their fringe rates are. And they could vary. That's why, to a certain extent, it can get tricky with the fringe benefit rates. So under this scenario, we're now going to converting from the salary to actually hours. So first, we're going to do it as if they work 2,080 hours a week. We gave you the scenario 8 hours a day, 52 hours a week. We're going to get their standard hourly rate, which in this instance comes up to $19.23. Now, we also said that they get the number of days they get paid time off and sick days, as well as holidays. Don't forget holidays. You forget holiday is compensated leave. You're paying them to be off. Anytime you pay them and they don't have to work, that's compensated leave. So if you have bereavement, that would be there. So notice, keep in mind that we had to determine the number of compensated leave days. So we got our hourly rate, and then we have our compensated leave days. So now that's the initial part of the conversion. And that's just looking at converting from salary to hourly, just that simple. Then what we're going to look at is in that fringe benefit rate. So we got the hourly rate. What's in fringe benefit? I think I've said it all over again, but this is fringe benefit. Compensated leave is one of the biggest areas forgotten. Everybody knows employer share, federal, Social Security, and MICA. If you have workman's comp, group insurance, don't forget compensated leave. So in that same scenario, we're including uncompensated leave. So we have that employee, $40,000 a year, still working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 52 weeks. They still get 15 days paid time off, 8 holidays, and 5 paid sick days. Now, this is their fringe benefit package. Not bad, $7,200 for, they have health insurance, retirement, workers' comp, unemployment, and then they have the 7.65%, which is the employer share of taxes. Based on that, we then have to, based on that, we then have to compute what their fringe benefits are. So we know what their direct labor hours are. We already figured that out. We figured out that they have $19.23 per hour as their direct labor. So we already told you that they have 224 days of paid time off. So now we're going to take that 224 And then step 2, when we compute our fringe benefits, we're going to multiply that 224 times that 1923 to give us the $4,307.52 on compensated leave. That is now included in our fringe benefit pool. So we gave you the dollar amount. So based on what we said were the assumptions for the fringe benefits, employer share taxes came up to that amount. That's insurance, that's compensated leave, retirement. These are when they say pools of costs, this is what they mean, the grouping of costs that are in a certain pool. In this instance, these are the costs that are in my fringe. So for this person, they got a good fringe benefits package. That total fringe benefit is $17,000. Now, to determine what that is in percentages, I have to take it by their total salary. So that fringe benefit rate for that person is $44.69%. You get that? You see why you got to do it per person for this grant? And y'all, it can't change every quarter. I know, yes, it's going to fluctuate, but please look at the annual total, because your POCs, and tell your subgrantees, don't do it to y'all. It becomes difficult every quarter to figure out why the rate is changing. And really, the rate that was submitted with the budget is the rate they should use throughout the grant. That's what happens with NICRAs and all of those things. They shouldn't change that rate because the dollars will never match up. They will never match up. Y'all will be trying to figure out pennies and, nickels and pennies because they keep changing the rate. So what they need to understand is the rate they submitted with that budget that you approved is the rate they should use throughout the life of the grant. Which is very, you're going to tell them that tomorrow, right? That's right. Make sure you tell them that tomorrow. Because that can be a lot. And you can give them some semblance of this as a template to help them figure out what that is. You really can. So then the next step in this, did I click too far? Oh, it won't stop? No, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, I was like, I clicked too far. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take their direct labor costs. We multiplied that 44.69% times their salary to get their fringe benefits. And so their fully loaded rate is $57,000. Then we're going to take the $57,000 and divide it by the $2,080 to give them the fully loaded hourly rate they should be billing to you if they're using this as their methodology, if they're doing the hourly rate or the actual hours times labor dollars. That is a fully loaded rate. And that's what they should be invoicing you or billing you on a quarterly basis. So if they say, well, why I'm not getting paid, well, I'm not, that employees, we're not getting compensated or recovered for the paid time off. Yes, you are. If you did your fringe rate, that's where you're getting it. If you choose not to, that's fine, but you have the option to include your fringe benefits. Now, on the backside, and tell them this, when we do financial and administrative reviews, y'all know what we have to do. We then have to go review this. We got to document and verify. So we got to make sure that those numbers they gave you are right. Did they really have health insurance for them? And was it really as much as they said? Or did the employee pay it and they tried to say they paid it? I can't tell you how many times. No, it only counts if you pay it for the employee, not if they pay the whole thing by themselves. You can't count that. Yeah, so that they have to understand that's then going to be a part of our review to determine if the costs are allowable, reasonable, necessary, and properly supported by documentation. So that's the whole labor and fringe benefits. Let's take this a step further. We're going to act like now you have this employee's timesheet. And for it, they give you 40 hours paid time off, 20 hours of HUD housing counseling, and 20 hours of ABC, another grant they receive. Well, of that, for that timesheet, you can only bill HUD 20 hours. Because why? That's all they had for actual time on HUD. Yeah, they were off. Hopefully you got a fringe benefit. Well, you do. You have it in your fully loaded rate. So in that scenario, out of all of that time for that 80 hours, only 20 hours can be billed to this grant. The rest of it has to be billed other places. And that is the big mystery of conversion of salary to hourly. That's it. I don't have any other racket. I wish I could be smarter, but I'm just not. That's it, y'all. It's just that's it. Okay. Now the new one, fixed price reimbursement, and I'm paying attention to my time. Now, first of all, you're going to use the same approach you did to determine the rate. The rate you're going to do is the same approach to determine that fully loaded rate. Same thing we did. If it's a salary, we're going to convert it. If we're going to burden it with fringe benefit, we're going to determine that, and then we'll get our fully loaded rate. That does not change. The change comes in step 3. This is where you have to have some kind of data. I know that Gail talks about some of her agencies that do staffing analysis or something on an annual basis, where they look at how much time they're spending on counseling and other areas of the organization. So they already have a process in place. This young lady talked about they have a process in place for doing. If in fact, so everything we just did for this hourly rate above, you're still doing that to determine the rate. Now what they're giving you the option to say, if you have good historical data, and if you can support how you came up with that hourly rate, one time in the beginning, once I approve that fixed rate, you can use it for the rest of the grant. Now, here we come. On the back end, that means we're going to review whatever supporting documentation you said you had to come up with that estimate. So if it's good if you have analysis, it could be just your timesheets. A lot of you use electronic timesheets. If you're doing your timesheets right, you should be able to pull a report and say, oh, these are our counselors, and we've tracked it by sessions. You can see we did 500 housing counseling sessions. And you see this, that was 8,000 hours based on that. And all of it, it's not rocket science, and it shouldn't cause you a lot of work. Now, what I will tell you is whatever you use to determine that methodology when you did your grant execution package, keep that together. Because you may not be the one that's there when we do the financial review. So then you're somebody that may not know how you came up with that, how are they going to figure it out? So then you're going to have a finding, because you're going to have inadequate supporting documentation, and then we're going to go back. So it's critical that once you do that, and however you came up with that number is a part of what I call a permanent file that you keep with the HUD grant documents to support. So it went 3 years from now, when we come look at that grant, you got the information. Change of personnel is common. So you want to make sure that information is there with the file. So that's the big difference. Once they determine a fee, then it becomes the number of units times the fee. And a lot of you are very used to that anyway. So let's look at how we do this. One of the things I've just talked about, you got to be able to document it. You want to have multiple years, 2 to 3 years, 2 at a minimum. 3 is even better. We don't need 15 years of history, y'all. We don't need from the time that we first got this grant to now. But 2 to 3 years is important, multiple years. Still has to be allowable, allocable, and reasonable. So we don't want to see timesheets for your fundraiser in there, because fundraising is activity that's not allowable. So you still have to meet those cost principles. And HUD must approve it through the grant approval process. So that's on the front end. I think you all would love if you, I got a son. I think you all would love if with your sub-grantees, once you approve it, each quarter they're just submitting you a fixed amount and a number of units, which you can easily verify. So let's go over this example. And in this example, pretty much we got an organization, 5 years they've been doing this. They have an electronic timekeeping system. Their accounting department, they interface with accounting. They're able to give them a staffing analysis on how much time is spent on housing counseling sessions. Based on that analysis, they came out with 11.5 hours per session. And then the accounting finance gave them the detailed billing methodology, so they're going to keep that information in there. And all counselors are paid the same rate of $25 an hour. Okay, so under this scenario, we know the number of hours, 25. They told us per counseling session. Fixed price per client. So we're taking the 25 hourly rate times the 11 hours, we rounded it down. So that means that for this type of counseling, it's $275 per counseling session. So when you do your invoicing, it would be number of sessions, and if you're doing different sessions, maybe based on the counseling, you want to propose different fixed rates. You do that during the approval process. Now on the back end, we're going to test it. So still, even when you're doing that, y'all, with these methodologies, timekeeping, saying the rules don't change from documentation. It's just saying instead of having to figure it out each quarter, you just tell them what the fixed price amount is and be able to support that. And on the back end, we'll make sure that that was reasonable. Some best practices. Meet with accounting. Y'all get accounting to help you with this. Ask them hopefully they can pull some reports for you. If you don't, if you've been doing it in Excel, pull together your Excel sheets, whatever support you have, make sure you maintain it. have somebody review it in accounting and finance. Whatever methodology, how you come up with this estimate, have them review it to make sure it's reasonable and makes sense. And they should really final approval. Notice I keep saying accounting, because they need to be a part of this process on the front end so y'all don't get delayed and getting reimbursed on the back end. If there are changes, you have to tell your HUD POC. If something changes throughout, or you realize maybe the counseling is taking a lot more, you still have to communicate with your HUD POC because that's considered a budgetary change. Best practices, these are some of the things that too will be in your, in this PARS guide that we're trying to get out. Time and attendance, you just want to track tasks. Still based on actual hours worked, because even if you're using the historical data, that's actual hours worked data that you're using. And we've been talking to you all about using activity codes. They can be as extensive as you want or as narrow as these, you know, but if you're, make sure though, if you're gonna have different rates for different types of counseling, you have different activity codes. You have different activity codes. So with that said, I think I got to the end. As far as resources, as I said, more extensive, the guide is like 12 to 15 pages. That is available on HUD Exchange, and they will add links to HUD Exchange for billing, so that will be added in the PAR guidance I've been referencing. If you have any questions, I will be able to take some questions, and you do have to come to the microphone. Yes. You can always, though, send them to housing.counseling@hud.gov. We actually put this subject, this particular session's subject title in the subject line item. Just makes it easier for them to distribute the questions to the correct individuals. So at this time, I will take questions, and I'll start with, I can't.
So congratulations on streamlining the process for scaled organizations that have an accounting department.
Okay. Oh, Lord.
What I didn't hear, what I also see in that is that it flies in the face of being an intermediary. Because, for instance, the timesheet example you used, or the accounting department example that you used, you know, that's one accounting department, one timesheet for a payroll within one entity. But that does not speak to an intermediary who's intermediating, truly, right? And who may have 60 or 100 different independent organizations who are getting a small percentage of their budget for housing counseling from this grant program. How does something like this speak to that? I think the question I heard over here was, we used to assign a number, and all of our groups that were independent organizations, am I seeing you nod your head? They then got that fee for the service they provided, and we sort of looked at it that way, right? This methodology is really only, in my opinion now, usable unless you could give an example of how that would work for what if you had 60 or 100 different organizations with different accounting departments, different capacity. You can't tell them what timesheet to use for 5% of their budget, right? How is that practical in that sense? And how does this not push the industry toward only scaled operators in this space versus true networks of independent organizations?
Well, first of all, they're determining their rates. They're telling you that information. Your job is not, if they want to use that methodology, then once they give you the information, once you approve it, that's it. So actually, it would streamline it because you don't have to worry about all of these different agencies with all these different approaches and all of these different methodologies. You don't have to figure out the methodology. You don't have to figure out how they do it. It's just once you approve it, then they're billing you that fixed fee amount. It's their responsibility to have the documentation on the back end. Their responsibility to do that. You don't have to determine everybody's fee.
Oh, understood.
Yeah.
Speaking to the impracticality of getting that many organizations to do exactly the same thing.
That's not, the suggestion is not to get them all to do the same thing. The suggestion is to let them know they have options. So you can do it one way or the other. If you choose this way, this is how it works, because a lot of them don't understand right now what is firm fixed reimbursement means. They kind of skip that in the new grant because they don't understand how to apply it. For some, it may be a godsend. They may have one counselor that does the work every time. So it's easy for them to look at how much time that counselor is doing the work per session and propose to you, this is the fixed rate we want to bill you every quarter when we do our submission. It may be a godsend for a small organization because they don't have as much information to compile, especially if they have one or two counselors. It becomes easier than having to do all of those things.
Technical, I mean, could you give examples of, 100 small organizations that have gone through that? Is that
Well, they haven't, nobody's done it yet. Nobody's really exercised.
I'm telling you why I think that's true.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, well, I question whether it's impractical. Only because not only have I seen it in HUD grant, I've seen it in other grants where it works extremely well, where it's actually easier for them because they don't have to figure it out each quarter. They just know how many counseling sessions they have. They multiply it times the rate and they bill you. They're not, yeah. Well, I'm just using real world examples. Fortunately, we get to work with a lot of different agencies and a lot of different, both private sector and non.
You have 50 to 100 organizations that are small size?
Yes. I can honestly say we've worked with organizations that have 50 to 100 where they're all doing fixed price unit and they submit them and they call them units. So yes.
Can I ask a question to his question?
Uh-huh.
I'm just wondering, is there some way that we can assist this particular agency and setting up? That's the answer to the question. Well, do you want it? Can we help you? Can we come out and try to help you figure this out?
We're actually not intermediating one right now. We're tiny and it would be a challenge for us. I'm really speaking as someone who ran a HUD-approved organization for HPN and CLR NeighborWorks for 15 years, and then I taught for NeighborWorks for 7. So I know a lot of those organizations. I know what they face. That's the experience that I'm speaking from.
And then they can just keep doing it the way they've been doing it then. They don't have to, it's just an option. It's an option, that's it.
So try to...
But for anybody who is struggling with that, we are willing to try to help. We want to try to help. If this is not a real life situation, if you have a real life situation, we will try to address it.
So trying to think of how to implement the fixed rate thing. So do you look at a different rate for each employee? Do you take all of them together and come up with an average rate?
No, it's based on housing counseling session. It's on the types of counseling you're providing.
I'm talking about one type of housing counseling
gotcha.
session, reverse mortgage in my case. So it's always the same type, but I can identify this counselor spends an average of 3.5 hours. This counselor spends an average of 3. And of course, then they've got different potentially fringe benefits. So why come up with one rate for the whole group, or one rate per sub-grantee, or?
Are you talking about for your subrecipients or for your employees individually?
Well, both.
Okay, because the subrecipients would give you the rates. You can do that for your employees if, in fact, there's a fluctuation in how much they're paid. So if their hourly rates aren't all, this scenario, I made everybody's hourly rate the same, assuming that every housing counselor pays the same.
So they're variable. So it might be a difference in rate of pay, difference in fringe benefits, difference in how long they average to do the counseling. So can I group them all?
Not the hours that average for doing the counseling. That has to be consistent because that could be speaking of inefficiency. It's a lot of factors in that. So coming up with the rate per person could vary, which is what we said, but coming up with the hours per the types of counseling, you would have to take into whatever your methodology in account that a more senior counselor may take a little bit less time than a newer counselor in performing the same services. To give one, the hours should be the same. The individual rates.
So I do come up with one fixed rate for the whole group of counselors.
That would be perfect if you could do it. That's ideal.
No, I'm asking. So
yes.
I'm trying to figure out. So I just take average and come up with one fixed rate.
Well, you can take everything to come up with the hours. You can take all of the hours to come up with, on average, it's 11 hours.
Right.
Your rate may vary depending on the counselor and I'm going to say the counseling session. Because if you're paying different people different rates, then you need to be able to say that. That's what we're going to look at, what rate you're actually paying that person.
So you have to have a different line item for each counselor.
Yes. Yeah, it's a rate. Not line item, not a budgetary. It's still all on the same budgetary line item.
I guess I'm not following.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm having high anxiety right now. Because so my first thing is approving a rate without understanding the methodology, and then they get reviewed in the methodology. Like how could...
Your POC should approve the rate up front, and you should approve the rate up front during the grant execution process.
Okay, so we do have to understand the methodology.
You do.
And so, okay, that was one thing I wanted to... my other question was on in your example where you combine the hourly rate and the fringe benefits. So we have on our budget, it's personnel and then it's fringe. So wouldn't you separate out, like you would just do the 1923 for your personnel cost times whatever your high hours are, and then do like a 860 fringe hourly rate for the same 20 hours? Because it's separated out when we report it out. Because on the example, it was combined together.
Okay. Well, we separated it on one line. We showed you the salary, and then we showed you the fringe, and gave you the $57,000 as the total. And then we said that would come up to be this fully loaded burden rate, this fully loaded hourly rate.
Okay.
But on your budgets, they do make you separate it out. They make you separate the personnel and the fringe, and so you kind of have to have them as the total amounts on each line item, and then when you do your actually billing, that's when you break it down into the hourly rate.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's what they make you do. Yeah.
Okay. Because when I was going through with you, I had like for hourly rate for fringe of $8.60.
Yeah, that's some percentage for y'all that y'all came up with that to be in dollars, $8.60.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you probably figured that out internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so my other question, I'm trying to understand, because like with 20 agencies getting 20 different rates, like that's going to like be administrative nightmare almost, right? So my question is, I was, as an intermediary, I know HUD gives us the regulations, but don't we have that option of structuring our shop, our network that's conducive for us? Like, do we have to, we can't say that they use a certain format, because streamlining it in a structured format helps us administratively versus getting 20 different formats, 20 different reports.
Yeah, you can streamline the format, but you can't tell them they can't use a fixed rate reimbursement. You can't tell them that. You can't tell them they can't use an indirect cost rate or a 10% de minimis rate. You can't tell
them. I get that. I
was just using that as another example of a flow down where I understand you want to streamline, and that's a part of being an intermediary, the whole oversight and monitoring. HUD has to review everybody's rate, and these POCs have to look at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rate. That's inherent to what you do. That's just a part of being an intermediary. And as much as you want to streamline it, everybody's not going to have the exact same rate. It just doesn't. Now, you can give them a template. So at least they're giving you information the right way. So that's half the challenge right there. They don't always give you the information, give you accurate information. So all templates should do is give them some guidance on what they should be including to come up with whatever the rate is. So you may have a template if they're going to do hourly rates, or you may have a template if they're going to do firm fixed rate. So there could be two different templates, but you can't tell them you have to use this one or you have to use that one. Just like HUD can't tell you.
Okay. I think that was all my questions.
Hi.
Quick question. Under the NICRA, the indirect cost, as a parent organization, can we decide for the agencies that they do not have to submit indirect costs, or we have to give them that option?
You have to give them that option. And it actually says that like really clear in the circular. They say that pass-throughs have to allow subawards these options.
Well, I believe that the question was presented, but they say that we don't want to do the indirect option.
Can you come closer to the mic, because I can't even.
If you don't want to do the indirect option, but that option has been given to the agencies, and they all say no, then that's pretty much what you would place on the contract.
Yeah, if they elect not to do it, that's fine, but you can't tell them they can't do it.
Okay, and one small case scenario that I just recently faced with an agency where the staff was out of work for 2 weeks, sick. So that's a total of 72 hours. So her question was, for those 72 hours, do I or do I not build HUD? Yeah, yeah. So I said, that's not direct labor. That's not something that we can account for. But she did mention that, well, it's part of my fringe. Why can I not build HUD? Because it's all calculated into my fringe as part of the compensated leave pay.
But you have to multiply that times some kind of direct labor. So even a fringe is burdened by your actual direct labor costs. So it's not like you can just charge fringe. You got to multiply it by something to get to the fringe. That's just.
Well, that's still an open-ended situation because I'm still communicating with my POC, but the POC's recommendation was if they're going to provide those 72 hours of sick time, they have to have some kind of a policy that indicates that that's how much that's covered under their policy, number
Or it's
one.
really uncompensated leave, which is a
It
whole
is.
nother nightmare.
Right.
That's
And
that's just a whole nother.
so to end it with that case scenario, she decided not to include it under the HUD grant because
Yeah.
she realized that the supporting documentation is needed, and if she doesn't have it, then obviously it's going to be an issue when it comes
Yeah.
to us.
And I
But I
have
just
1
wanted to share
minute.
that with you. Thanks.
Okay, and it's 1 minute. But go ahead.
I did miss a question, I'm sorry. Also, what I heard was that once you establish your hourly rate, that you keep that same rate throughout the whole grant?
Yeah,
Did
the
I hear
fringe,
that?
especially the fully burdened hourly rate that includes the fringe, they shouldn't be changing that fringe rate on you every quarter.
Well, no, not every quarter, but my question was, because like in January, if they have raises, wouldn't that would be a change?
But that's why you should give them the annual. When you look at your annual, like for the prior year, it would have incorporated any rate increases anytime, and you would have used that. Just like when they do government indirect rates or any kind of rate, it's always based on your historical, and unfortunately, it can't project what's going to happen in the future. So the best thing to do is use what the total was for last year, and use that to determine what the fringe benefit rate should be.
Okay, so. I know you're expecting me to say something smart, right? I'm like, we were told in advance that this was not easy, and she did not lie. Okay, but the bottom line is we had some good questions, and we are available to try to help with anything. So you can send questions. You can give a question to your POC. It'll come to us or to our contractor. But don't struggle with it. If you have questions, please. You may not want to stand up. Somebody said this was being recorded. Maybe you don't want to stand up and ask your question now. Maybe you don't even understand your question well enough to ask it. So, okay, that's understandable. But come to us and we will help you work it out. It's so much better to get it done now than to wait on the back end and find something went astray. So I'm just asking that you please do that, okay? Because we know this is not easy. It's complex, but we can work it out. We've worked it out before with not this particular thing, but other kinds of accounting issues that were challenging for particular agencies. In your package there, the resources, you can look to that. If you look over the resources and you have questions, just contact us. You have my number, you have your POC's number, you have the information that you can send your questions to. So now it's break time, right? So we need you to come back in 15 minutes. We need you to shake it out, get it together, and then we're going to come back and we have 2 breakout sessions. We'll have a session on handbook on the handbook changes, which is important. But yeah, and that session is in here. The handbook session is in here. So come back prepared to give us to hear what we have to say, but to also make some of your suggestions. And the other session, which is next door, we'll be talking about networking and networking capacity. Thank you so much for your attention. See you in a few minutes. 15.
Well, yes. Well, thank you for both a good conference, but we also want to just recognize that the value of the leadership and helpfulness that Sarah Jarek has done in our work in our field, and really been a visionary in our work. And so you have if I can open it, Champions of Housing Counseling Award. Here we go. From all of us. Great.
Thank you. This is beautiful, too. Thank you. And it's not worth more than $25, is it?
Absolutely. Actually, it was made by artisans in Africa, and it's not. No, it's not at all. All right.
Thank
You're
you
good.
very
You're
much.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I have a couple jobs right now. I'm going to ask those of you who are not rushing out to please, at the end, come forward. We'd like to take a group photo that we could put in the bridge. And so if you wouldn't mind joining us for that, it'd be special for us. I'll reiterate what Lee said earlier. Please fill out your evaluation. There will be an online version you can receive. As you can probably tell, we use what you say to improve this conference each year, and we really welcome hearing what worked great and what we could improve on. I am going to share some thoughts about the conference very briefly, but before I do that, I'd like you to recognize a few people. On the HUD side, we have a committee that actually works on this meeting every year, and they start working in December, I think. And they include the following people who I'd like to stand up if they're here: Charlene Young, George Grothier, Suzanne Isaacs, Colleen Weiser, Tanya Pinkney, Ruth Roman, Jane Sharita, and Robin Penick. Would you stand and join me in thanking them? We have a number of other HUD folks here today. I want to especially shout out Phyllis Ford, Brian Siebenlis, Stephanie Williams, and Jerry Mayer, who presented and assisted today and have just given us great leadership over time. So thanks to my directors as well. Our contractor for technical assistance to you for HUD Exchange and for this conference is ICF. Her team is under the leadership of Shauna Murai, and I want to thank her for a wonderful partnership. I usually try to sum up a little bit what happened, especially because there are peer groups going on and you don't know what's going on in the other room. And it was awesome to actually float a little and hear the excitement and ideas. But I thought what I would do is give you my summary in terms, it's an emotional summary. So I'm going to tell you my emotions through the day. I thought, geez, there's a lot going on. Wow, it's an awesome idea to use some common forms that can be translated for LEP folks, and so that we would have translated forms available. Oh my gosh, there are finally going to be new CMS systems that people can use, and they're coming, and old systems are going away, but there's hope in the systems world. I have a story to tell, and nobody's listening to it. Who's leaving from hearing my story? Why aren't they coming in? What are the barriers? And what's the value proposition so I can speak the language? It's all, I'm feeling a little left out, or people aren't paying enough attention to the story I have to tell. You'll know this part of the session. Billing methodologies can make you crazy. It's a lot of work, but I'm thinking, I haven't had an IG visit on misspending in a couple years. I haven't had a GAO report on misspending for a couple years. There's a cause and effect there. So yes, but phew. Both. The room in here on handbook changes coming up and deregulation asked the question, what were the pain points? And I'm thinking of those little scabs that you pick off and expose, and there was a lot of pain. There was pain around OMB requirements and reviews and projecting the budget and not being able to change the budget or having budget tolerance, and timing the reviews. But there was also a lot of peer sharing and warmth, and we figured this out, and maybe you can too. And in the other room, it was much less painful, I have to tell you. We're talking about how to grow, how we shrink, how to cut down the size of your agency, how to nurture and grow it, how to use the tools that HUD may have provided and where they may be helpful or maybe less helpful. At the end of the day, I'm leaving thrilled, happy, energized, proud, and feeling like there's a lot of power in this room, a lot of power that you can create for yourselves. You empower your clients. You trust us with the power we have, and we have a responsibility with the power we have to use it wisely and in the interests of the public. And I think you, with us, become very powerful in that way. So I missed a lot of detail in that, which we will share, but I want to thank you for a really powerful experience for me and for all of us here. So thank you very much. Those of you that have got to go, skedaddle out, and those of you that don't, why don't you come up and we're going to try and do a photo right here. Thank you so much.